how you doing? It's
John.
clobbering time over here on John's Long Box.
Except we have islands fighting each other.
Yeah, well,
I didn't catch the end. Like I tried to watch some of the show, I couldn't watch it all. I didn't catch the end as to why we're doing this. So I was trying to read up on Narnia. I mean, it's been a long time since I read these books,
So I just want to say Marcus is back, but are you better than ever?
I don't know. I guess.
How's your dad?
He's doing good. I mean, he's doing good. It's not like staying at the at the Ritz Carlton. He's got like an older place, and so it's a little bit of a squeeze. But he doesn't move well, but he's sharp.
How old is your dad?
He's 80. He'll be 87 next month.
Oh, God bless him. 87. That's
yeah. He's pretty sharp. I just got off the phone with him. I say, I always have to set up his internet and stuff, and he's pretty sure he's really right wing. You'd like him. He's really well read. He read all the books you read. Like he could probably pull up so much stuff.
Oh, get off my channel. Get your dad on here. He'll talk about Narnia.
He wouldn't be bad. He talks more than I do. Although he busts my chops about it.
I got to say, Fund My Comic, Heroic Tales #1 is still available. Matter of fact, I just
I have my phone here, so I'm all set to post it.
But
I thought you were never going to get finished with what Elysian. I forgot his name.
Wasn't that fun? I could.
He's fascinating. I wish he didn't. I'd be honest with you. I wish he didn't have another show. I'd want him on here now. He'd be great, right? This with this subject, I mean, he remembers everything. He's got a great memory for all that.
Yeah,
stuff.
I forgot more stuff about Greek history than I care to admit. It's just it's like a muscle. When you don't.
It's really important for these guys. Or he could have launched. If he had to on.
Well, that's I offered.
I would have been happy to welcome him to launch. I was going to tell you, and then he said he just might as well do it on bankrupt.
Yeah, I mean, geez.
The issue with the launch, and this goes for everybody, and the launch is when everybody goes, I want to back that book. I want to back that because it happens to me. I want to back that book. I want to back that book. And then like after a day or two after launch, I go back to my normal stuff. Well, I really can't back it. It's kind of expensive, unless I know you guys so well, like your book or whatever, But I like, you got back to get him on the first day and the last day,
He's not doing the wrong. For those of you who don't know what we're talking about, we just assume. I just had a talk with Michael Oden of he's got a comic called Elysian Fields.
Right, Michael Oden.
And this guy knows. Yeah, I went to college for Roman and Greek history, and I felt like I was a kid listening to the professor do a lecture.
I know.
I forgot so many names. He asked me a battle and then answered the question. I was so glad that I didn't embarrass myself because I couldn't remember. I mean, I can't remember last week anymore. I'm at that age.
I have a good memory, and I don't remember all of that stuff.
I just want to say I was my Heroic Tales Fund My Comic campaign issue #1. I was gonna take it down, but I am of the thought Heroic Tales 2 is going to be launching next Friday, and issue 1 will be available on the campaign. But if you if you didn't get issue #1 and you back it on the new campaign, you're not going to get it until everything's ready to ship. So if you want it right away, you could back it on this, and I'll ship it out immediately. Does that sound logical?
That's basically what Aaron Lopresti's doing.
Okay, so you will get everything that,
and Shane is doing the same thing.
So you'll get the 4 stretch goal cards, and if you want, because I made 7 cards for campaign 1, making 21 cards for campaign 2. I might scale it down.
I need a card book.
But so there you go. If you want issue 1 right away, like somebody back last night, right before I went to bed, I'm shipping it out tomorrow. So, but if you want to save on postage and get 1 and 2, in the next, which I totally understand, that campaign will ship out because I can't. It's just
that Mike Gustovich cover. There's a lot of them.
It's impossible to keep track. Okay, I already sent him half the campaign pledge, and that. So for logistical reasons, that's what I'm going to do. So there you go. Let's see. Is there any other?
It's very nice of you.
I'm sorry.
It's very nice of you. You could say just back it on and try to expand the backing of.
Yeah, well,
number like.
It's all going to go into the Stripe account.
You have an original,
so it all goes into the same pot. What else was I going to say? Issue 2 launches next week on Michael Bancroft, 9:00. So
you're selling original artwork on that too, right?
Yes, I have a big stack of Renzo's artwork. Some of it already sold, so I got to make sure that you know. That
so is he getting everything on that? That's good.
He's getting it. I'm taking out for shipping, and I'm taking out a little bit for tax.
Oh, that's fair. You're really fair. That's great. Go ahead.
I want to make Renzo happy. You know what I mean? The guy.
He works.
A lot of the work isn't even on Heroic Tales, so I don't. That's not anything for me. You know what I mean?
But you know what's nice about that too, though. The more bigger number you look more successful if his stuff sells on your campaign.
Right. So yeah, I
am getting that's kind of crass, but
yeah,
that's how it works,
But like it's oversized. I got to get a big envelope. I get a plastic sleeve, so I got to take money out for shipping, and I got to take money out for tax purposes because if
maybe masonry
art, I'm
Some guys put it between two masonry thing. They go to Home Depot if it's not too heavy.
Yes, like I got 1 page left of Coney Waves. Mark Polton bought Renzo's Coney Wave art.
Nice.
I got other stuff from like my wife really loves it. It's like furry animal kind of stuff, and a whole bunch of Heroic Tales that I'm just so tempted to buy them all, but I'm gonna turn. If they don't sell. If they don't sell, then that's it. But I did ask Renzo going forward to draw the covers and give.
Yeah, that's really nice.
Covers.
So you said we should get into what we're supposed to be getting into, but you said that he's actually faster doing traditional.
That's what he told me.
You know what? I could believe that because if you're usually at work, I'm driving lots of times, or I'm at work, and you could watch Dan Fraga do his live stream, and he's doing it. On the iPad, and I've seen him draw traditional. And what happens is you can get so detailed and so specific on that. You can blow it way up and do every little thing. It could slow you down, or you can change it so easily. You can't let the page go.
Yeah, Renzo asked me. He goes, "Do you want me to do it traditionally, or do you want me to do it?" I said, "Do it whatever way you want. I'm not a micromanager." I said, "But whatever traditional art you have, we'll try to sell it, make you some extra money." Also. Renzo does a lot of sketches and for character design. So we're putting that in a folder, and maybe like if I have 6 comics, I don't know why, but 6 just seems like a fair number. I want to make like an art book.
I think doing a Renzo art book. He's done a lot of artwork. He's worked for you and RJ of the Fourth World, and he's worked for Coney Waves is a big book.
Yeah,
Mark Polton, and he's worked for your boy Zach. So he's. Yeah.
Well, I'm talking about just like a Heroic Tale, so it'll be sketches of my characters that.
No, I know, but I'm just saying his name is.
I don't feel I have because I want to fill it up with like details and behind the scenes, and I can't do that for Coney Waves as much. Coney Waves is great, but I don't. Yeah, I don't know enough about it. I can't fill it up with my takes on. We got Zach Dan in the house. Zach Dan. Oh, first off, there's the link if anybody wants to come in, and I left it vague on purpose. Narnia versus Middle Earth, and I just left it like that because I don't want to influence anybody's decisions or whatever. Don't know much about Narnia. Don't know much about science book. Don't know much about the French I took. But it seems like a pussified version of Middle Earth. Okay. Ben Smar, how you doing, Ben? You're here every week. Why don't you come in and join us? Okay, Ojo, greetings from Raleigh, North Carolina.
I was just in Raleigh yesterday.
How far away are you from Raleigh?
3 hours.
Okay. They have a militia more than a standing army, but Narnia is no slouch. King High Peter fights successfully against the Northern Giants. Yes, they do.
I have a feelings about this. I don't know how specific they are.
The Lion and the Witch versus the Hobbit and the Grey. There we go. I'm going with Middle Earth, but Narnia does have Aslan. Middle Earth. Heroic Tales. Heroic Tales. The witch can turn people to stone unless Gandalf has a cooter. What's a cooter? I think the witch could beat him as much as Elysian Fields. Yes, that's.
Since we were talking about it, we'll give him a pop.
Yeah. He's launching at 9:00, so I might just throw his campaign up and give everybody. I can't even talk anymore.
We could do a long box raid.
Yeah, I would like to. I would like to. So, as normally, we always talk about like the things that we're talking about. So I picked Narnia and Middle Earth. Why? Because I'm a Tolkien freak. I reread this. Whenever I say things like this, I get mad at myself. But I reread the Silmarillion like once a year. I put it on an audiobooks when I'm doing something at work that's just repetition, and I can allow my brain to like, So I just love it. Narnia I like. Middle Earth I love. So you already know how biased I am. But I didn't say like in a fight, and I didn't say which was better thought of. I wanted you guys to make your arguments based on your criteria. So I kind of hope that more people show up than just Marcus and I. But like
yeah,
Zach,
last week you had Cam, and I don't even know who the other guy was.
elements and Gondor and Rohan could possibly be Telmarines, but the trees are more reliable allies in Narnia. I mean, counter. Okay. Nothing could beat Aslan. True. I don't think it's fair to include Aslan. So,
but yeah, Aslan. I mean, Aslan is Jesus. We can't have that. He's the son of God.
but Eru Iluvatar is God.
That's true. But
so yeah. So there we go. So
come in.
So yeah, come on in. Come on in. The philosophical divide between the two. C.S. Lewis believed in allegory. Tolkien spurred it. You see, this is the kind of stuff, Dale. Come on in.
This is why Dale's got to come on.
Yeah. This great. So presumably all of the Emperor over the sea is Iluvatar. Yes. He did. I forgot that was even part of the book. It shows you how much I'm forgetting. So both of them are fictional worlds. Both of them were made by people that were around the same time. They were friends. They were in a group called the Inklings.
That's right.
If I remember correctly, Tolkien was a Roman Catholic, and that really influenced his work. Was C.S. Lewis a Roman Catholic? Also,
I know he was Irish, so there's a good chance.
Yeah. I mean, he could be a Protestant if he was,
That's true. I'll see if I can find that.
But they were both Christians. I only know which flavor Christian on one of the writers. I've exhausted my knowledge on the subject already. There were.
It's the type of thing that I'll remember as we go along.
It's weird that Tolkien, as a Catholic, would be against allegory. Yes, but I wonder. I do think allegory seeped into Tolkien's work, whether he wanted to do it or not, or maybe it's just us interpreting things in our own way. But as people kind of say, like Narnia is a more
Church of England.
He was he was Anglican.
He was a Church of Ireland, and he fell away from it. And he came back to the Church of England.
Okay,
but it does say they were best friends.
Right. This I did know, that Tolkien converted C.S. Lewis from atheist to Christianity. So I think he was Irish, grew up religious, fell out of religion, befriended Tolkien, and then literally they had like a friendly debate. And I picture two guys in chairs with pipes.
I think that's exactly, looking at the picture, I think that's exactly how it was.
Yeah.
Two guys with chairs and pipes overlooking green fields of England.
Yeah. And smoking their pipes and eating potatoes, and having a friendly argument, and actually won. It's the only religious debate in the history of the world where somebody actually changed their mind.
They didn't want to beat each other up.
Yeah, they were too much friends. So Tolkien was, he was in World War One. That showed a bit in his works, and he wanted to recreate what he considered the lost lore of England. Now, this is where people. Oh man, I wish Michael was here for this. You correct my history, but supposedly when the invaders came, the Normans, the Saxons, all that stuff, it wiped out the original English, and their mythology was lost. And Tolkien wanted to recreate England's mythology. So yes, fans of Rings of Power, there weren't Asian elves and there weren't black people, not because Tolkien hated them. Quite frankly, he was he wrote a scathing letter to the Nazi party about their treatment of Jews. But he wanted to make an English story for England, and there's nothing wrong with that. And his map of Middle Earth, I might as well bring it up since I'm talking about it. Share screen. It had a little bit of England to it, a little bit of Europe, but it's an otherworldly place. Now, it's supposed to be. I'm going to get real nerdy into this, but we are supposed to be living in the seventh age. You know, when we watch the Lord of the Rings movies, it's the third age, and the third age is when magic started to leave, and I forget the delineations, but we are in the seventh age of man. So this is supposed to be the prehistory. Now, a thing about Tolkien that really confused me was if you read the Silmarillion, that they and I got a map of Middle Earth to open up and look at these. It's not anywhere on this map. The first age is in a section of Middle Earth that got destroyed in Beleriand, and I'm going to point to the TV like you can see, but the whole northeast of the continent was destroyed in the final battle with the Valar and Morgoth, and it changed the shape of the world. And so the point I'm trying to make is Middle Earth changed. It was at one point flat. At one point it was perfectly symmetrical. It was, the continent was a circle, and then in the middle of the circle there was a perfect circle water, so it was like donut shaped. So there was an inland sea, and then in the middle of the inland sea there was another island called Amon, I think it was, and that's where the gods all lived in perfect harmony, and everything was symmetrical. And Morgoth, the Sauron's original boss, destroyed it and changed the shape of the world, and destroyed the lamps, and the Valar moved and made a whole other continent all the way to the west. That became Elfhome, Elfland, or more commonly known as Valinor, the home of the elf. And they raised the mountains so that separated it, and they basically forsook Middle Earth and left it in darkness. So the elves rose, and the elves started to love the stars because it was the only source of light, and then a whole bunch of things. And I'm talking too much about this, but basically I'm saying that the shape of Middle Earth changed. And yes, it's called Middle Earth based on Midgard. Midgard literally translates to Middle Earth. And Middle Earth is this continent in the middle. There's a whole nother continent that is analogous to like Asia, and there's a whole nother continent below that's like analogous to Africa. And then Valinor, it didn't matter in old English times because the New World didn't really exist, So and then Valinor was literally removed. The Earth was flat. The Numenorians invaded Valinor. God Eru Iluvatar changed the shape of the world, made it a sphere, and then Valinor was like this pocket reality that you couldn't get to unless you had magic boats. And then the continents were destroyed again. So my point being is that Middle Earth changed. It changed shape a few times. So us being in the seventh age, we're like, I don't recognize Mordor. Where are these mountains? Well, something else happened in the sixth age to change the shape of the world again. So there you go. That's a condensed history of Middle Earth. And yes, so much stuff. Narnia would probably be more fun to visit. It's seemingly made as a place British kids would want to go on holiday.
From what I read about Narnia, it's based more on Ireland, specifically Ulster and Northern Ireland, than just England.
Okay, well that makes sense. As C.S. Lewis being more
right. He always visited, even when he was in England, he always visited back there. And he was really infatuated with Beatrix Potter, and so you could see why he had a lot of talking animals and that type of thing. So Narnia would be a little cuter because he was more influenced on that type of thing. Although he also too was in World War I and got wounded and saw his friends die and tried to get into World War II, but they wouldn't let him. But he was 40. But there were some weird things about him. His mom died when he was young. His father sent him out to England for school. And he met some woman who was like 45 years old who he introduced as his mother. And there's a 50-50 chance that there was hanky-panky going on there.
Really? I didn't know this.
I was just looking at the Wikipedia of C.S. Lewis.
I didn't know that.
I just read that now. I'm like, wait, what? They're not sure, but it's weird that he called his mother. But she taught me to be generous. I think that at that point they were living together.
So
More
that
than likely,
cougar in
it's probably she was still a handsome woman. They said, as they would say.
Oh my God, I think my wife would slap me if I referred to her as a handsome woman.
Well, you know how that would be way back then. But so I think that, and he wrote Narnia earlier than that. So that makes a lot of sense. And there's something about Narni, Italy, because he got the name from Narnia from Narni, Italy. But it really doesn't have a whole lot that much to do with Italy or the people. People always think, and there's different sections. There's the Kingdom of Narnia, and there's Baruna, where the fords were, and then Beaver's Dam and Chipping Ford. Of course, we've all read some of these. We probably did not read Narnia as much as we all read, Lord of the Rings.
I read all 7 books of Narnia. I read,
I don't think I did. My son did. I think he read all the books. He read both of these. He should be on the show.
There you go. Get your dad. What are you doing here? Get your dad, get your son.
He wrote all that stuff.
Zach then brings up, in Middle Earth, we've all seen the Easterlings riding the Oliphants, but they had the Calormens, which were almost the equivalent. And that was, I don't know. Okay, so Narnia came into
it was a flat Earth Narnia, though.
Yeah, Narnia came into existence when Aslan sang it into existence. I forget which book. I think The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe was actually first, and that's book 2. And book 1, The Magician's Apprentice.
He didn't write the books in order.
That's book 1. So I read The Magician Apprentice first. That's actually my favorite.
That's like speculation because he didn't write the books in order.
Right.
So people have been trying to put them in order forever.
But my set is numbered, so I read them in order.
They numbered, they did number them. Yeah, I remember that.
I read The Magician Apprentice first, and I really enjoyed that. It was my favorite. Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, my second favorite, and then the Voyage of the Dawn Treader. I just love that book.
I
prefer the original order.
Going to the city when I was in college.
Always wondered why the Beavers had Mario accents.
There you go.
So they went to now I'm getting confused.
Yeah. They're just similar enough to be confused with each other.
Yeah.
But I think my feeling is that Middle Earth is way more detailed than Narnia. Middle Earth is an older fiction, like for older teen. Like if it was supposed to be for kids, like The Hobbit was supposed to be the one for kids, and this one was supposed to be like you're in college to read Lord of the Rings. Frodo Lives, 1968, and then I think Narnia is really for younger kids, like more like The Hobbit. So Middle Earth added with the similarity, it's much more developed.
Right. I was gonna say they have a similar origin. Diggory and Polly Plummer, they witness Aslan literally singing the world into existence. Now over in Middle Earth, Iluvatar and his council of angelic they Anur, I almost couldn't remember that word. They sang creation, Middle Earth, like Arda is the name of the world, Arda into existence. And of course Morgoth played some heavy metal riffs and tried to do some dissonance in the music, and he became the Satan figure. They have similar creation stories, music and vibration and sound and singing, bringing them into existence, so there you go. And then they got like this, both of them have like a medieval English look to them. The 4 kings, I picture the crowns and plate mail and chain mail and all that wonderful British stuff. British longsword.
Love drawing that stuff, by the way.
I'm sorry?
Love drawing armor and chain mail. I like that type of, it's hard, but I like to draw it.
Tony Grigo says, as much of a Catholic boy I am, Tolkien wins this. Voyage of the Dawn Treader is reminiscent of earlier voyaging stories like the Odyssey and Gulliver's Travels. Yeah, I don't know why. I just love I love that boat, the dragon.
Gulliver's Travels.
Yeah, I the Voyage of the Dawn, that book out of all 7 of them sticks with me the most. The Boy and His Horse, I really don't remember that many details of that book. This was it, The Silver Chair. I remember a bunch of that, but yeah, three out of 7 books stick out to me the most. Maybe I got to reread them again. I always thought Melkor's music would be the Bee Gees. I kind of picture like Coltrane. I picture like Iluvatar, and it's like church choir music, and then all of a sudden you got some like Coltrane or Chet Baker. Where'd that come from? The Bee Gees. Oh man, what kind of horrible.
That's insane.
What's that?
I'm looking at this, and later in his life, C.S. Lewis got married to a woman, Joy Davidman. She came out of an alcoholic marriage. They were married like 4 years. She had bone cancer, and he adopted her 2 sons, one of which I think is still alive.
Wow.
One died in 2014. Could you imagine somebody being connected to C.S. Lewis still alive today?
Well, Tolkien's what, grandkids or grandkids? Like,
yeah, it's amazing. Yeah, that's true. That's amazing to me.
They're the ones that sold the rights to Amazon, and suppostly I heard one of them is like bitter and doesn't like his grandfather, great grandfather. So he's like, "Yeah, give me the money. I don't give a crap." And you can see
selling to Amazon was a mistake.
Yep, there was a good movie about Lewis called Shadowlands. I didn't know this. There's a movie about Tolkien and his wife. I got to see that. Anyway, a lot of similar themes. The thing about Narnia is it exists in a parallel dimensions. I gotta refer to it as like comic book talk, because children from our Earth travel to it. They go through a mystic portal, and they go to another world. And it was always a little confusing to me, kind of like how John Carter would travel to Mars. My biggest disconnect with Narnia is when the children go to Narnia, they become the great kings, and then later on they're adults, and then they come back and they're kids again. So obviously time is different. Like it's I don't know. Like, to me, that was like the hardest part to suspend disbelief. Like, okay, we go over here, we become adults in the later books, and then we come back, we're kids again, and then they aged out. And you got, why can't I think of his name? The kid from the Dawn Treader, the horrible little kid. The great queen, the older one, she ended up forgetting about it. So it was the littlest girl and her cousin, Eustace Stubbs. How about a horrible name is that? I think that's one of the greatest lines, right? His name was Eustace Stubbs, and it wasn't his fault, I think is the first line in the Dawn Treader. What a great line. I like The Boy and His Horse. It's the only book where the main characters are native to the world. It's almost like a side quest. And one of the things in The Boy and His Horse. Okay, so let's go back. So Narnia is basically mythological England, romanticized England, whatever you want to call it. At least where the capital city where they lived. And then there was also another king that was native. It's kind of wonky to me. But they were at war with the Calormen and the Telmarines. And the Telmarines I always thought were like Spanish, and the Calormens were like Saracens. I don't even want to say Muslims. They were like Saracens. And they had why can't I think? But they had this bird god that was marching. What was his name? Tash? Was that his name? And I always pictured Pazuzu from the Exorcist. Everywhere he went, this Tash would burn things, and there would be fires and sacrifices to it. And I always found that to be scary. I read it in my late teens, and it just scared me. Like Tash and Tash worship, as described by C.S. Lewis, was the scariest thing out of Narnia or Middle Earth.
Really,
Middle Earth had some scary things like Ungoliant and stuff, but something about Tash just terrified me on like a primal level. So, yeah. And he almost deserved it. Eustace, and he almost deserved it. Tash, thank you. Yeah, everybody's back to me. Tash. Am I correct in thinking that Tash was like this, almost like a chicken Pazuzu thing, like you see in the Exorcist? Remember at the beginning, Pazuzu.
Oh,
And it was definitely an allegory of like the Crusades, of like the Muslims invading Europe, and then Martel and Charles Martel repelling them out, and Elstead and all that stuff. I thought a vulture. Maybe it is a vulture. Maybe it is a vulture. He had a vulture head and 4 arms. Yeah, very, very creepy. I don't know why that just disturbs me. And so there was all of these stories of Christianity versus like Islam, and fights back and forth. I think that is on purpose. I think you're not supposed to not think of that when you reference, and I think that's the reason why they'll never film a boy and his horse, because it has like a politically incorrect spin to it, and I'll leave it at that. And I'm real curious to see how these new Netflix adaptations going to be. They're all going to be the 4 kings. One's going to be black, one's going to be Asian, one's lesbian.
They have a rule. They have a rule in Hollywood about who's supposed to be in. So somebody's going to be black,
right? Yeah.
They can't, even if they don't want to do it, they kind of have to.
Why
and
not?
Netflix is famous for it.
And why not? Johnny Storm was black in the Fantastic Four movie, even though he's Sue Storm's brother.
Yeah, that was unique. Well, and Sue Storm was Hispanic.
Oh yeah, the first one, yeah. So, and Narnia, it was famous for talking animals, like not just like Aslan is an exception. Aslan is supposed to be the exception, but there was, fantasy creatures like Mr. Tumnus, who was like a satyr,
right?
But there was if I remember correctly, there was like a bunny family that the little girl hid with for a while, which always made me think, how do they eat in Narnia? Like, you know what I mean? Like, are there's regular animals, I guess, that you could eat, but you're not going to eat the Narnians, the talking.
Yeah, that's a little weird. Oh, let's have a little Narnia beaver today.
Yeah, they have the talking beaver, and like the talking beaver. It's like, you can eat my stupid cousin. He can't speak.
Yeah, right? I'm about to divorce my wife. You can eat her.
John, what are your thoughts on the new Harley Quinn fart book?
Well,
it stinks. I didn't read it, so I can't.
All the things I'll say something about that. You do this. All the crowdfunders, big and small, big creators, smaller creators, Eric Shelley, everybody's knocking their head against the wall trying to get that character that's going to hit, and they're doing the ones they love, and they're trying their best. And DC Comics takes Harley Quinn and makes it a fart book. Think about that, how much work everybody does. And I'm not, everybody is working hard, and they do a fart book out of Harley Quinn. But you know who I blame? I was doing some research on Harley Quinn. You know who I blame about this all crazy Harley Quinn stuff? Jimmy.
Yep.
Jimmy P. He's the one. They're the ones who made her lesbian-ish in that run.
I have. I'm not interested in the book.
He's the one.
I don't feel that I have the right to criticize. I would not make a fart book. And is it really scratch and sniff, or is that a joke?
I think that's a joke. I don't think
okay,
it's but I'm not 100% certain.
I just want to know what's going on, and it's just like, I kind of want Diamond to explode, and I think if Diamond explodes and takes down a lot, I'm sorry about the local comic book stores. You guys are the best, but I think this might separate the wheat from the chaff and cause like a culling of all the nonsense.
I kind of feel the same way. Like, every time somebody goes, I went to the comic store and I'm buying Batman Hush 2. Oh, it's so good. And I feel like you're just enabling them to do more ridiculous comic books. Even if Hush 2 is the greatest Batman comic in history, you're enabling them to keep going with like Harley Quinn fart books. Like, I don't want them to be enabled anymore.
I bought the 16 variant covers for the new Spider-Man. Yeah. I have 2 editions of my comic book. I gotta sell, but
variant covers are different for crowdfunders because they drive the sales that you need. The crowdfunding for the mainstream, that's just a scam.
Right. So that's really all I know.
Different.
There's some comments that I really need to address.
So, yeah, let's get back.
Yang said, Yang, why don't you come in and talk with us? Yang.
Yeah, because I'm slow. Yeah.
No, it's just I feel the more people. If there was smart, they make the animals. They make the animals black. Yeah. So there'll be a black bear and everybody's happy. Is there some sort of functional inspiration from Islam, but being polyistic, it kind of resembles Babylon? Yeah. Yeah. But the Kalar men were clearly like Middle Easterners, if you ask me. So Nick of Time, first off, Nick of Time, thank you for being here. I think it's the first time I've seen your name, so thanks a lot. So were you talking about the quality of the stories or who would win an award? I left it vague on purpose. I was kind of hoping you guys would come in and tell me
stories. That's hard to decide.
You know what I mean? I love them both, and I just wanted you guys to come in and tell me what you thought. So you're welcome to come in and voice your opinions. There are talking animals and the regular animals. Basically, the talking animals were created with human-like souls. Yes, I guess it would be murder to kill that friendly little bunny family and the beaver family that took them in at the beginning.
I almost spit out my coffee.
And it was Dan DiDio, Jimmy Palmiotti, and Andy Carter who were responsible.
Right.
No argument from me. StreamYard, this is the link. If anybody wants to join in, pop in with us. Sometimes they threw a few bones to keep the light on for the propaganda. Yeah. Is it true or is it Photoshop that Wonder Woman cover with her foot, in the foreground? Like, that is such a foot fetish thing. Is that a real DC comic or is that just somebody?
I don't know. I didn't see it.
In quality, Middle Earth, in award Narnia because of Aslan. Okay, so I wanted to address one thing before we got like heavy into this. Is everybody says like Narnia is more of like a fantasy land, fairyland because of the talking animals and Santa Claus exists in Narnia. Aslan, who is Jesus, let's call a spade, and talking animals. But what people forget is that there are talking animals in Middle Earth too. If you read The Hobbit, how did Bart learn about the missing scale on Smaug? A bird told him. I forget the name of the bird. I forget the species of the bird, but the bird was there when Frodo, or Bilbo rather, was talking about it, and the bird flew off and told Bard. There was also a fox in The Hobbit that just shook its head and basically made fun of all the dwarves and went away, and then in the Lord of the Rings, what's his name? Bjorn had talking dogs and talking wolves and everything like that. And I will argue that Bill the Pony was pretty intelligent. Bill the Pony, they left him right before the Watcher in the Water, and if you read the last chapters in the Lord of the Rings, the Scouring of the Shire, for Samwise finds Bill the Pony being taken care of. I think it was by Barlaam Butterbur, and Bill the Pony makes it all the way back through Rivendell, through the woods, and back to Hobbiton or Bree. Oh, Nick, how could I forget this? The spiders talk. The spiders are talking too. I mean, we all know that the spiders were monstrous, not regular creatures, but the spiders also spoke. The wolves that the orcs rode also spoke. And in the Silmarillion, there was a lot of like werewolves and vampires and things like that also spoke. So there was talking animals in Middle Earth. It just wasn't front and center like Narnia. The bird was a thrush. Thank you. Is there an explanation for the thrush? I usually get the talking eagles, Thorungar, and
that's right. The eagles did talk
here. Is there an explanation for the thrush? I usually guess Valar shenanigans for the seemingly random elements in Middle Earth. They never explained the thrush. The thrush was just King Thrush, and he was like an old bird that talked to Bilbo a few times. He just talked. A happy ending for Bill, yes. When I told my wife that Bill had a happy ending, she got teary eyed. She was like, "Oh, good Bill." And another thing, Tolkien created half orcs. Bill Ferny was a half orc. The yellow-eyed, creepy looking guy that basically the four hobbits murdered in the Scouring of he was a half orc. Saruman like was breeding orcs with humans. The ones that looked too human, he sent to breed to further his business exploits of selling tobacco. Yeah, Saruman was basically a pot dealer.
Well, Tolkien, you could, there'd be no Dungeons and Dragons or anything without him. I mean,
absolutely.
The whole thing is. I mean, you can't say that so much about Narnia, but you certainly can say that about. I mean, it's all there in those books,
right?
Just the journey thing. I read Fiendish too, and it's the journey, the group of people that she's getting the group of people together to go on the journey. In book 3, I suppose.
Yeah,
gotta get bigger lettering. Oh my God!
I'll conquer with drugs and industry. There you go. That's pretty much what Saruman's. Although we all joke that pipeweed was weed, but it's explicitly tobacco. It's Tolkien says it in one of his letters that it's tobacco. And the Hobbit.
Back then, tobacco gave you much bigger high than I'm sure the tobacco today.
I don't know. I mean,
I smoke. Kind of part of the deal of smoking, and particularly cigars.
I smoked exactly 2 puffs of cigarettes in my life.
Yeah. Me and you both.
Oh my God, my mother was
taking it up though.
I was sitting at the table watching my mom smoke. My mom was a chain smoker. My mom died because of cigarette smoke. So I'm pretty anti-smoking, but you guys do what you want. And I was just sitting there watching her smoke. And I just said, Mom, can I smoke? And my mom was smart enough. She knew me that if she said no, I was going to go do it with my friends. You know what I mean? Like, I'm going to get this curiosity over with one more. So my mother's like, okay, you can smoke with me. I'm going to light the cigarette. So she lights the cigarette, hands it to me, and she goes, okay, exhale. She's teaching me how to smoke. What am I? I take a puff. I'm like, oh my God, what's wrong with you? You like this? And never touched it again.
Here, I'll tell you something. My mother was not a heavy smoker, but she did like to have like two a day. She ran marathons. She didn't do it then. But she actually liked this. A lot of people, it's a habit, and they did it because of their friends, and they do it to pass the time and something with your hands. She did like the cigarette. She liked the taste of it. It's the oddest thing. That's not why she passed away, but I didn't like it for like the same thing you did. And then, then I was just like playing sports, and I couldn't play sports and run around and smoke. That made no sense, particularly wrestling.
Yeah.
That's a good question, Logic's finest.
I'm looking it up right now. I forget.
I think Lord of the Rings, but it's about the same time.
I don't know which was published first. I'm looking it up.
There
were many more health benefits from smoking back then. Yeah, they doctors pushed tobacco back then. Logic's finest. I'm going to look it up while we're talking. Or Marcus is going to look it up, rather. If creators were smart, they would make it illegal for someone to write the story without the approval. Well, that's what intellectual property is all about. And the intellectual property laws, what is it, 70 years plus the life of the owner plus 70 or something like that. So like you can't write Lord of the Rings books except fan fiction. You can write fan fiction. The difference between fan fiction is it's not official and you can't make money off of it until it becomes public domain. And Superman is about to become public domain. Batman's about to become but now that's why everybody and their brother writes Cthulhu.
It's not all of Superman though.
Right.
It's whatever's in the first issue of Superman.
Right. This country was built on cigarettes and coffee. How dare you? Greta Thunberg is in the chat, ladies and gentlemen. How dare you? Yeah, believe me, coffee.
Okay, so this is the answer. I asked Grok. Grok is way better than Googling something. You just get ads for everything.
Right.
So Narnia was published on October 16th, 1950. And Lord of the Rings was published, The Fellowship, July 29th, 1954.
Right.
However, The Hobbit was published way earlier, September 21st, 1937.
Right. So Lord of the Rings.
That's your answer.
So Middle Earth was first. Yeah, I thought
Middle Earth was a Middle Earth book was first.
I knew The Hobbit was 1930 something.
I kind of thought
exact year, but I could not.
My fifth grade teacher read us at in the second half of the year, read us out loud The Hobbit.
Yeah, I did that when
afternoon.
Every afternoon I would read, I'd read The Hobbit, a chapter or two.
He read a chapter of The Hobbit to the class because he was a hippie.
It should be illegal for anyone to write a Lord of the Rings story, show movie, except Tolkien. I will say this: there's so many great stories in the Silmarillion and in the appendices of the Lord of the Rings.
I should read the Silmarillion. I never read that. I was intimidated by it.
That they make up stories. Like, what was the last one about Helm Hammerhand's daughter? The Helm's Deep move. Why did they make up a character? There is a female leader, Hadith. The three houses of humanity. That one of them was a redheaded woman, and she has a great story. Why did they make up a character and make a movie about this? It just gets me mad when the arrogance. I'm going to change Jack Kirby's vision of the Silver Surfer. I'm going to change Tolkien's views of
but the Jack Kirby's idea of the Silver Surfer is more understandable because now you have 500 plus issues of the Fantastic Four, and Kirby hasn't done it in forever, and they got to come up with some crazy idea to keep it going because that's the way it is. But the Tolkien doesn't make any sense at all. It's all there.
Like I think I watched about 4 minutes of the first episodes of Rings of Power, and I'm like, I'm done.
Didn't bother.
I'm done. Like, I
know Rini was really mad about the Rings of Power.
It's to the point I don't talk about it. Hate watching counts as a view. Talking about it.
That's true.
What do they say? Who cares what they're saying about you as long as they spell your name right? Yeah. So I don't talk about.
They say.
So Zach Tan is asking, wasn't the original Superman basically Lex Luthor, a bald mad scientist? Marcus, you know more about this than me.
Yeah. They took him from the original short story. Superman looked like Lex Luthor and was a villain.
Where was this? Is this like their prototype story?
The prototype story.
So I did not know that. I played it off like I knew it and handed it to Marcus, but I really didn't.
That's true. That's true. So much of Superman, Clark Kent, Doc Savage, Clark Kent, the Fortress of Solitude, like they lifted so much, to almost burn Bob Kane is almost a shame because so much of Superman and Batman were lifted from what was popular of the day. Can't blame them for being, stealing stuff from what was original.
And Superman was a ripoff of Philip Wiley's Gladiator.
That's right.
Literally, he could jump an eighth of a
mile.
You
don't think they didn't? You don't think that what's his face didn't the creator of Green Lantern didn't read the Lensman?
Oh, absolutely. The Lensman was.
It's almost exactly the same thing,
right?
And somebody read the Lensman. If he didn't read the Lensman, then Julius Schwartz read the Lensman because he was doing that. He was involved that way back when in the first Golden Age as well.
And the original Lex Luthor was just called Luthor. Like there's some debate on whether or not that's the same character.
Yeah, Lex Luthor was not supposed to be the big villain. The big villain in Superman was supposed to be Ultra Humanite. But it kind of got forgotten. And because it's all on the radio show. A lot of what we think is Superman doesn't come from the comic, but it was really the radio show. Kryptonite, flying. He didn't fly in the comics until the radio show.
Oh, okay.
They had to have kryptonite because the guy lost his voice who played Superman, and so they came up with kryptonite. As needed. It wasn't in the regular comic.
Superman out sick.
Yeah, and Superman always did silly things. If you look at all the covers, he never did the big cosmic things that he does. They started that in the 70s and 80s. When they Marvelized him before Byrne Marvelized him even further. He was always doing he's so powerful. All they could do was and DC Comics had basically had these terrific artists, had these characters standing around a lot. So that's kind of how it is.
I don't know. I'll get back to Narnia and Middle Earth in 1 second. All I would say, Marcus, I'm not really interested in public domain characters. Like if Superman goes public, I don't, I
Well,
made my comic book.
people have a yearning to do it. I
I
kind of
don't
like
want
those.
to do Superman. I don't want to add Batman to my
When
world.
people,
I want to do my own characters.
I am attracted to those. Not so much Terror of the Trenches, because that character's been used. But when they post those, when I go back and look at old comic covers from the 40s and 50s, particularly the 40s, there is a draw like, wow, that guy looks really cool. He has his weird shorts, like it's the Red Arrow or some patriotic character fighting World War II. There is a draw, or like the Green Llama or something. There is a draw to use stuff like that. But the truth is, Dynamite just did it like 10 years ago. They had a whole lot of
that series of comics called Superpowers, and it was all
exactly.
I thought that was a good series. I'm glad somebody else.
It's just a start. You don't have to create the costume. Like I'm supposed to create something for the studio, and I don't have any ideas. I always want something to be not something semi-original, but nothing's original. I'm talking to a guy now, and he just keeps saying, well, nobody does anything original. And I'm like, well, then you might as well not do any comics. It's almost impossible. You just got to do what you got to do. Like, I did Captain Courage. Did you world build them? No, that was going to come later. But we do have characters that we created back then that did have a world built, involved world building. That's just how it was. It's a one-off. So it's hard to say. You just got to get the character that you can get behind, whether it's the Patriarch, Omega Mission, Elsie Fields. It's not going to be, if you could put a twist in it,
right?
Hey, just do the best you can.
If you can argue that it's all Greek mythology or Norse mythology, you know what I mean? Just be told. So,
well, Jack Kirby used Norse mythology as opposed to Greek mythology over and over before he did Thor for Marvel. There's several Thors that he did. And Odin showed up a lot at the Venus comic. They used a lot of mythology. Where do you think they got all these ideas from?
So Nick of Time says, in a perfect world, Disney would go to prison for making the Star Wars fan fiction movies. Can't blame Disney. George Lucas sold it to him. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like
George. The odd thing about that is Disney bought Star Wars and the MCU afterwards to have a boy brand. Disney was a girl brand, princesses and Toy Story. They wanted boy comics. And as soon as they get Star Wars, they tried to make it to a girl story. That's the mistake. They put a girl ahead of it. I don't know. I have a lot of patience. And then they created, instead of bringing back Luke or Luke's son and Luke's daughter, and then they wokeified it. I don't know what happened to Disney. It's insane. It's insane.
You need a Palantir to look into the Eye of Sauron to figure out what they did. But I will also say, we are not innocent. I'm old enough to remember that when the prequels came out, we hated them.
Right. Yes, I remember that. I remember that.
There was a movie
sister liked the prequels, and my kids liked the prequels. But
there was a movie called The People versus George Lucas, and it was, Red Letter Media made their whole YouTube channel based on hating the prequels. And George Lucas was like, fine, I'm done, and he signed it away. We backed him into a corner,
Yeah, no, I agree. And in retrospect, the prequels were talky and slow, but they were way better than what was made after. They're not as good as the original Star Wars, but they're way better than this. At least it was, the basis.
I call it the Jack Nicholson principle.
Yeah. Well,
are you, if you get, you get Jack Nicholson to work in your movie, unless you're Martin Scorsese, you can't tell him to do another take. You can't tell him that wasn't good. You become like a victim of their talent, personality, and gravitas. Like, you're not going to tell George Lucas, this kind of sucks, we got to shape up. Like, I think he did a rough draft and then went right to film.
Well, perhaps. I know that my oldest son, really liked the first prequel because him and what's his face? What was that? The kid's name again? Anakin.
Anakin
looked exactly the same. They were both blonde little kids. He identified with Anakin at that point. So what are you going to do? But you have to have at least the heart of the storylines, and the current Star Wars doesn't have the heart of Star Wars. We're trying to watch them and reach into it. The current MCU doesn't have the heart. Do they have to be perfect? It's not going to be perfect.
Right.
But like the original Iron Man movie, Iron Man 1, I liked all the Iron Man. Captain America, the first Captain America movie, and the Winter Soldier, and those are more developed movies. They had the heart of the character. Was it exactly the same as the origin?
No, but
it had the heart of the
made
character.
sense, right?
Excuse me?
I said the changes made sense.
Yeah, exactly. And it worked that way until the Captain Marvel movie. Well, I never saw Black Panther, so I don't have an opinion on that. People liked it. And I didn't see Captain Marvel, and I saw, because I don't have to see them to know what's going on, obviously, because I could write the movies, you could write the movies. They would make more sense until the final two Avengers movies. And then after that, it's been a disaster. The first inkling of it was Captain Marvel with Brie Larson and letting her run around and say men were bad and this is not for men, blah, 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 blah. And that was the first inkling of what was going to happen in the future of Marvel.
I want to address Logic's finest. Always he has an insightful comment. Copyright and intellectual property laws have changed and evolved over the decades, and fan fiction laws do allow wide room for creation. Ownership of properties are all over. Yeah, I got to say, like, I don't know what the exact intellectual property laws is it still lifetime in 70 years? Because I don't know.
even that if you like Conan should be in, everybody should be able to do Conan,
right?
But only Titan Books is doing Conan, and in England, and here you have to call it Crom or the Avenger or whatever.
He just got a cease and desist letter for his Conan books.
Right, and they were really nice about it. I saw that episode.
Yeah.
And which is great. They're going to be Titan Books. They liked it so much, so he doesn't have a problem. But we don't even know. Like, characters in the public domain, Submariner, and nobody even knows it.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Because nobody wants to fight Marvel or Disney over because of money.
Oh my God. A light bulb just went off. Is that why they changed them so much in the movie?
Every time they make a change, it isn't just because they're woke. It's usually because because there's going to be, they might lose the character. Miles Morales is not made. Hey, I haven't seen Shadowpunk hasn't come in for a long time.
The Ultra Humanite was kind of cool in the animated series. The man just wanted good art. I got to say, Ultra Humanites were one of my favorite DC villains.
It's a great villain.
There's something terrifying, like legit scary about the Ultra Humanite, who has nothing to do with Middle Earth.
When they made Miles Morales, or they were going to make another Spider-Man that the Ditko estate could not own.
Right.
In case they lost or they couldn't come up, they want to keep it. They'll share with the Ditko estate, obviously. And they did that. And then they took the opportunity to wokeify it. That's where it comes in. They all do it. Same thing with
Captain. That's why I've been calling Miles Morales a spider scam.
Yeah. But they do it for all the characters. Remember in the 80s when all the characters that did the Grey Hulk, Thor got a new costume because all his bones were broken, right? The Black Spider-Man costume before Venom, Captain America became the captain. That's all because of they do it all because of making sure they can own the character in case they lose the original characters. It isn't all creative. Now the creative guys get to it and may make it creative, like Captain Marvel or something. They have to have a character in Captain Marvel or lose Captain Marvel.
I don't know if soon to be public to have some gravitas to Sherlock Holmes, Captain.
I'm waiting for that.
I don't want to use public domain characters. I do have a story that kind of has Captain Nemo in it. I love Captain Nemo, but
you could name him Captain Nemo. I don't think anybody's going to give, especially if he's not on the cover.
Well, I'm going to call him Prince Drakkar, which is like his name before he took the name of. Like that's the character. I
can't wait for that book. I got an email about that Mike Barron book. I did get that eventually. I backed that. I really can't wait for that book.
Don't get me started about Disney Star Wars. I thought Star Wars was bought after the MCU. I was hopeful back then because the MCU was so good. Yeah.
I think Star Wars before or after. I don't know.
I remember when Disney bought Marvel, I was excited. I was like, yeah.
They left Marvel alone and made good movies for a while. And now
I was like, don't forget that Marvel Disney owned why can't I think of the name of the studio that made like Reservoir Dogs and stuff? I was like, Disney made good movies back then. So
they had the adult version of the Disney movies, yeah.
I think Vulture. There's supposed to be about 50 finished scripts at Lucas Penn that have never been produced. You don't have to like the prequels, but the hate for them and the actors was I don't hate any of the actors. You're going to tell me?
Well,
first off, I think Daisy Ridley is beautiful, and I think she's a sweetheart. And it's not her fault. I tell you, if you're a young up and coming actor, and they put you in a Disney sequel movie, and you're gonna do it. You're gonna do it. You know that guy who played why can't I think of his name now? The black guy. Yeah. I think they did him dirty, but I don't have any problems with that actor. You know, it's not the actor's fault.
That could have been a good story too when you think about it on its face.
Yeah, as far as I know, nobody was hiding behind diversity and lecturing the fans back then. Yeah, they just wanted good characters.
But that's the other thing about back then. So I grew up in the 70s, you know, and then in the 70s and 80s, and we had Good Times and Sanford and Son, and you know, the Jeffersons, and there was a mixed marriage, and it all was going on. But the stories were good, and the sitcoms were funny, and nobody cared. Chico and the Man. You know, nobody cared. They were good shows. Now they're doing it, and they're not making good shows, and then they're lecturing us on top of it. We weren't lectured.
That's why I'm not
All
watching
in the Family.
That's why I'm not watching the new Daredevil show until it's over. I don't want to be lectured by the seven. I get emotionally invested.
I don't think that says that. I don't have Disney Plus, so that's not an issue for me.
By the way, the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen are all public domain characters,
right?
Except for Fu Manchu. In the comics, Fu Manchu is the bad guy. But the Saxe-Romar state still owns Fu Manchu, and they want exorbitant royalties so that they took him out of the movie, which hurt the movie. Jar Jar Binks.
We've been watching Reacher.
That poor actor got like a lot of crap.
We've been watching Reacher, and I know he said all sorts of crazy things, but the producer isn't like that. He's kind of to the right.
Changed your name. You fooled me.
Yeah. Really? That was him?
Yes.
Us all.
Yeah. I've decided to separate my YouTube persona from my business channel. Like for our Luniverse is now going to be for trailers and stuff like that.
Okay.
Yeah. So I just had to hop in because I heard Daredevil, and I came to tell you, do not watch it. The new one. I rage quit. Rarely do I rage quit.
I really like that Daredevil on that. I like the Netflix stuff.
Oh, I started rewatching the Netflix one. I was like, I did not realize how good it was until I rewatched it.
Those fight scenes are terrific.
Well, I will say I did have problems with the fight scenes at first because I had sharp eyes back then. Like I can tell when the faces don't necessarily meet with the punch. Yeah. I can see that from them. You know, but I start to appreciate them now more and more as time goes on, and yeah, definitely the best show or anything that Marvel has put out there, or at least MCU wise.
I even liked Iron Fist.
Yeah, I liked Iron Fist. Like I didn't hate it.
Fist. It was very close to the original comic.
Yeah, really? It was like the 70s pulp. It was like a 70s pulp kung fu.
It was a little slow. The problem is it was slow.
I didn't watch. I just stopped because I didn't watch the Punisher, his solo show. I didn't watch.
I saw the first
Jessica Jones.
I saw Jessica Jones.
Jessica Jones was good, but only because of the villain.
It was good at the beginning and good at the end, but it dragged in the middle. But it had a little to do with it wasn't one of my characters. Jessica Jones is like not one of my Marvel characters. Like, but I loved Luke Cage, even though it got silly at the end because he looked like Luke Cage, he acted like Luke Cage, he had powers like, you know what I mean? Like,
I'm surprised they haven't done more with him.
I heard they could bring back the Defenders.
Iron Fist. I wish they'd bring that guy back. He was terrific.
Who?
Now they're going to have Wonder Man be with Luke Cage.
I bet they regret not letting Fu Manchu be used for cheaper. Yeah, right. Yeah. You know, you make more money. You know, you make more money by taking more from small pools than a lot from once. You know what I mean? From one big pool.
Man, I love that. I love Power Man. That was a great show.
And you know, I don't know. I love the character of Fu Manchu. Great writers have been pushed out for the religion of woke. The Gen Z millennial writers haven't learned their craft. Look at Marvel. Look, I mean,
that's true.
We got a fart comic book.
But there's always one that they're going to keep. That's going to keep them alive For Marvel, it'll be a Secret Wars, and they'll bring back whoever, and then DC will bring back Jeff Loeb and do Hush 2, and that's going to keep them alive just long enough. And they're going to have Mark Waid rewrite nobody really knows more about DC Comics than Mark Waid.
Yeah, as much as I don't like him, he's a good writer. He's a good comic.
And then let's see if he is a good writer. And let's see if he keeps to his good writer. He hasn't really written anything good in the last few since he's gone woke, though. Yeah, let's see if he wokeifies the history of DC Universe.
I will have to say that not all Gen Zs are terrible writers because well, not talking about me because I haven't published anything yet.
Nick is doing one of my pet peeves right now when you say like men don't like women, and then somebody goes, not all men. I'm like, dude.
No, but yeah. I agree with that.
It's understood. Only
I understand.
Everything is only a Sith speaks in absolutes.
Yeah, I understand. But there's that one guy that I'm thinking of who writes for Phenomenova. I forgot his name.
Vaughn Coleman.
Yeah, Vaughn Coleman. Yeah. He's a good writer. He
writes really good for a 12-year-old.
Okay. Yeah.
I'll see Vaughn. I don't know if he's going to be at SCCon. He's going to be at Heroes Con. He's going to table at Heroes Con.
I've been talking about Vaughn with maybe be him and Paul splitting the table at a comic convention.
I think that's a great idea.
Get me some training wheels on this convention.
Vaughn's really out there, and he's worked tables for Michael Golden and other creators. It's like he's done on cons. And the one thing about Vaughn, and he gets some crap, but he does ask the best of the best for their advice. He's not afraid of them or anything. Right. He's a good kid.
Yeah,
Phenomenova was good. I mean, like it was good for a first issue. I mean, not for first issue. I don't mean it like that. For an origin story that's going to end on like a cliffhanger, it was really good. I mean, I liked it.
I enjoyed it too. The vast majority of Generation Z writers are woke sociologists, activists. Learn the craft. They refuse to learn, but instead practice.
They're not getting paid.
I agree with that.
And again, not to take this the wrong way. If you own a comic book store, I apologize, but I'm kind of hoping that this diamond implosion, but you know what they say: weak times create, good times create weak men.
But
maybe we need a little bit of rough times in comic books to polish them off.
They got to get the small press has to be able to be. Distribute the ones that want to be distributed in stores instead of crowdfund have to be distributed in stores. We have too many people crowdfunding books at all right now. The money is really spread out between everybody for expensive books, and we can't really have more people coming into crowdfunding taking all the money. Like there's smaller creators, bigger creators, medium creators, and big creators, but the money is all spread out. Lysias Fields, I forget his name off the top of my head.
Ben Oden
made a really good point. He hit it in 2020. COVID. The money was flowing. People getting money in the bank. They weren't working. They had nothing else to do. They couldn't buy comics. Everybody made a ton of money. And now, are the levels now what the level's supposed to be? Are we in a recession for crowdfunding? Is it going to go back up, or is this just the way it was always supposed to be? But we had such a boom in 2020 that it expanded everybody's expectations. You know what I'm saying? Like everybody had, all these people had $100,000 campaigns, 150, 200 million. Now are they? You know what I mean? Like, what are the real expectations? Are they really going down, or is this more is this reality?
Not mine. Mine's going to go through the roof. Mine, because it's launching next Friday.
Next Friday. And you're going to get both 1 and 2 on the campaign, or you can order 1 and get it hot off the presses. He'll send it out tomorrow morning at 6:30 a.m.
Right.
Well, maybe not that early.
So let's bring back to Narnia. And
yes.
I love the tangents, though. This is how conversations are.
Well, I like the tangents.
Every once in a while, for those of you who don't know, an old typewriter, you have to hit the thing back. Pa-ching! That's what I do. So we were talking about Middle Earth versus Narnia, and I left it open to interpretation to whatever you guys wanted to. Now, we have to address the lion in the room. We got Aslan. Aslan is supposed to be Jesus, and in a world created by a Christian, everything revolves around Aslan. Nothing. Like, who would make who would win in a fight? Jesus or Iron Man? You have to say Jesus. You know what I mean? if you're religious. You know, if you're a Muslim and you say who would win in a fight, Allah or Squirrel Girl, you have to say Allah. You know what I mean?
Well, Squirrel Girl, really.
Yeah.
Oh no. Well, if you're part of the woke ideology, you will have to say Squirrel Girl.
Beat Galactus. Galactus is God.
So Aslan exists in Narnia. So if you want to talk about it like there's going to be a battle.
Well, does Lord of the Rings?
But you also, I'm sorry, what you say?
Does Lord of the Rings have an equivalent to Aslan?
I was about to say that the Lord of the Rings has Eru Iluvatar, who is God, right. The one God. It literally translates to the one God. And before you say he's an absent force, Iluvatar directly intervened in the Tolkien stories on many occasions, sometimes subtly, sometimes not so subtly. The most obvious one is when he destroyed Numenor. It was almost like his hand came out and crushed the island of Numenor, killing everybody except for the faithful, Elendil and Isildur and his brothers, whose name who's escaping me. And they made it to the northern kingdom of Gondor and the northern kingdom of Arnor and the southern kingdom of God. That was a direct intervention by Eru Iluvatar. Another direct intervention is when Bilbo found the ring. There's no reason for that ring to have fallen and be right by Bilbo at the time. A lot of people say that, and Tolkien even hinted that Eru Iluvatar put that ring right there for Bilbo. So, so we're going to talk about God.
Now I have to reread all these books. Jesus Christ, you're killing me.
They are a long read.
So
I read them on the train. So
now, Aslan could sing an entire world into existence. Eru Iluvatar could sing an entire world into existence. One of the beings that Eru Iluvatar created was Gandalf, who is a Maya, an angelic being. Gandalf is probably one of the most powerful beings in Middle-earth. Once Morgoth was gone, you could argue maybe Sauron was more powerful, but we're talking. But it's clear as night and day that Aslan is more powerful than Gandalf. So do we remove Aslan if they battle? You know what I mean? And I never took it as these worlds are going to battle. But if you want to say like it's clobbering time, so not the forces of Narnia assemble and the forces of Middle Earth assemble, I never thought of it. I never thought of it as a direct battle. I'm thinking of it as the lore and the impact. And to me, it's Middle Earth hands down. Yeah. You agree, Nick?
Yeah. Like I didn't get I grew up with Narnia. I was actually in a Narnia play as Aslan.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. I was in a big lion outfit for.
Oh, you have got to get a picture of that.
Oh, I should.
That is so awesome.
I think my mom has a picture of it.
Your mom has a picture of that. You dressed up as a lion.
Mom has to have a picture of that.
You were in grade school dressed up as a lion. Roaring.
It was middle school.
Your mom has a picture of that.
Oh, so that was your middle school play? Because I have one here where my son was in. He ended up being a football player, but he was an Annie Jr.
Yeah,
and the Music Man, and he had to sing all those songs.
Yeah, I was in 2 plays in middle school. One of Horton Hears the Who. I was a Judge Turtle thing, and then
that's cool.
And then in the Narnia play, I was in 3. I was in the Tales of Huck Finn and Tom Sawyer. I was Huck Finn, and then I was
nice.
Yeah, and I, when I first read the story, I was like, why do they keep saying "I'll lick you"? And then I didn't realize that's what meant hit back then.
Hey, RRTNZ is in here, and he literally lives in Middle Earth.
Yeah, you should come in.
It's New Zealand is Middle Earth, right?
This is my buddy Roy. Roy says there was 2 rings in Lewis's books. I don't remember. Could you give me some information?
I don't remember
if you want to come in, Roy, and talk about this, don't forget the Eagles. I never forget the Eagles. I love the Eagles.
They were great. That Hotel California.
Yeah, that's such a good song. You could check in, but you can never leave.
Never leave.
No. RRTNZ. Sorry, I'm late. Middle Earth all the way. Love C.S. Lewis, but Middle Earth takes this. For once, RRTNZ is correct.
I agree. I mean, if we're going to get into that, I was thinking that from the beginning. I was trying to remember myself, and it's just Middle Earth is more dangerous. It's more. It's just that way. He lives in Moriarty. He lives in Middle Earth and is a Hobbit.
I have literally been to Middle Earth. I was an extra in the first Hobbit film.
Oh, really?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I
was actually, I can show you where I appear in the film. I have to find the name.
I have a theory of why the Rings of Power is not doing too well, because you're not in it.
Well, one of the theories about why The Hobbit was so terrible was because I was in it. I'll have to send John. I'll have to send you an image on Twitter, on X. It's a freeze frame, and I'm actually in that that scene.
That'll be fun.
Stand by. I have to look for it now.
I enjoyed the Hobbit movies.
I'm trying to remember the name of that movie. What was that movie where the girl was we're living it now, that movie with the elites, and the girl was an bow and arrow, and the kids had to
the Hunger Games?
Each other?
The Hunger Games. My wife was in
the
the
Hunger
Hunger
Games.
Games. She was an extra in the Hunger Games.
I will say this. You guys know me at all. You know I got some strange personality quirks. One of the things is continuity. Like I while doing this channel, I've come to the conclusion I'm such a Marvel fan. I mean, the characters are great, the stories are great, the art and everything. But overall, it was the continuity was the thing that got me so into Marvel. And it's that was basically my problem with DC is DC didn't have continuity until like 1985. But then DC changes the continuity every
again.
So I've sent you an image on X, and it's got it's a still from the Hobbit first film, and it's a flashback sequence. It's Balin talking about the battle of I think it's Azul Bizarre, which is the outside of Moria and the east gate of Moria. And so I was in that scene. Andy Serkis was the second unit director. He was so nice. He was an amazing guy. Gollum, right? He's a really nice guy. But there's one scene where I walk behind the main characters and I'm on screen for about 7 seconds. So that's my massive claim to fame.
Did you get paid?
Yeah, minimum wage, long days. Like I was getting my costume on. I was getting the costume on at about 8 o'clock in the morning. There's a cafeteria there. I stood behind Evangeline Lilly one day in the line for tea. I stood behind Bilbo Baggins once. Martin Freeman.
In the cafeteria, did they have potatoes?
Yeah, yes, they did have potatoes. They did, yeah. But yeah, it was an amazing experience. But I was getting stuff on about 7, 8 o'clock in the morning. That's me. And getting it off about 10 o'clock at night. It was one day I was in the makeup chair because I had a prosthetic forehead, nose, a beard, and hair. And I was sitting in the makeup chair one day and I was looking at the photos of the main cast, right? This is the level of detail and attention they put into these films, right? I was looking at these photos and there was one photo that just looked a bit strange. I was looking at it for about 10 minutes before I realized it was me. Like that's the level they went to on these films. So that dwarf there with the shield is me. I'm in it for about 7 seconds. I just walked behind the main characters.
Just imagine you're hired to be in the Lord of the Rings movie, and like you're going to be an orc, and the guy just walks up to you and goes, "Okay," it doesn't even give you any makeup. You don't need any makeup to be an orc. Oh, wow. My wife just reminded me.
My wife was in the Hunger Games. She was an extra.
Oh,
cool. Nice.
But being an extra, they send her emails sometimes. It's such a pain in the neck that it's almost not worth it. It's like all day, no food, hot as heck.
Well, they fed us. They absolutely fed us. But toilet breaks were a real issue. Toilet breaks were tough.
Now, and I think that they had to put her on I think you could probably see her hands in the crowd, of it somewhere. Do you know that? I read that first Hunger Games book too.
Do you know that movie that they made about Sandusky, the coach that did?
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
they made a movie about him. I think it was Dustin Hoffman or Robert. I forget, one of those guys was in it. But there's a scene where they're in the Mets room where they do the scoreboard.
Mm-hmm.
I was an extra in that scene.
That's cool.
Whoa, nice.
You cannot see me because I literally was working for the Mets doing the scoreboard at that time. So they knew to actually push the buttons who knew what to do.
In Shea Stadium.
So I went there, got $250, and I went to the wrong crap table to eat something. And
they yelled at you.
The non-extra actors yelled at me, and I looked at him. I was like, "You're better than me. You're better than me." But I got an easy day. It was a nice, quick.
And then John knocked that actor out, but he somehow stayed off at TMZ.
So, what I was trying to say this. My wife today told me, she goes, when you're talking about Middle Earth and you're talking about Narnia, you have to remind everybody that the Shire is in Middle Earth, so therefore it wins. My wife loves the Shire. You know, she they talk about like trad wives and stuff. My wife fantasizes about like wearing dresses like Rosie Cotton and living in the Shire and picking potatoes.
I think she would get hot though.
Yeah,
well, I'd go down the pub there, you know, if for certain. The Green Dragon sounds like a good time.
Zach Tan is challenging you as usual.
Yeah, I'm going down the chat. DC really represent the kids, including them as characters. Didn't you want to see yourself? I don't want to see myself. No. I read books.
Nah.
I don't know if I don't know if I felt that way about the books I read.
If you need to see yourself in a character, that's like narcissism. That is really.
Well, I feel like I'm Levon Cade since I keep on reading Levon Cade books.
I think that is such a
violent, and you know.
I thought Marcus that you were you saw yourself in Jack Reacher, because you know I could see you've got the height and the physique and
I'm not that tall. Yeah, I'm physique, sure.
So Logic Finest asked me a question, John. How would you like Marvel Reborn? They threw away all the continuity and restarted everything and retconned, and it changed everything. For those of you who don't know, Marvel Reborn, what was it? 96, 97?
Yeah, that's been popping up online because Rob claims that Captain America was selling like 20,000 copies. That was the Wade Garney Captain America that was really, really good. And that he sold 260, and that it was all politics that got him off. It wasn't because it didn't sell, because every time you look it up, it says, well, Rob's really didn't sell and Jim's sold more. So they gave it all to Jim, and Rob was a pain. They kicked Rob off.
Well, Rob Captain America was one of the worst comics I've ever read.
And, you know, he's super proud. He's done better than that. I'll give him that. It's one of the worst comics ever.
Well, to me, Mark Grunwald is the guy who wrote Captain America.
Oh, yeah. Oh, no, that's no doubt. But I felt like when they did that, the Reborn, we all had to pick it up, right? It was almost off its own pocket universe. And when they ended it and they brought the regular ones back, it just was back to normal. I mean, they had to do some backflips to do it, you know, with Franklin Richards and everything. It's like Age of Apocalypse, you know? They had this little section of the X-Men being all different. And then we knew it wasn't going to last, but somebody wanted to do those stories.
First off, I want to introduce my friend Roy. This is his.
Hello.
Oh, you're on the channel. You came on.
Sorry.
Game.
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, you sound fine. Look fine. I just want to address Logic's Finest, and then we'll get back to topic. But yes, when they did Marvel Reborn, for those of you who don't know, Image was just selling like hotcakes. Marvel was having problems because most of the talent left. So the Image guys basically took over Marvel Comics, and they redid the Avengers, they redid the Fantastic Four. The Thunderbolts came out at this time to fill the gap.
I like the Thunderbolts.
Yeah, but it was a reimagining of these characters, like Image type, and I hated it, and I dropped all of those titles, you know, and something told me that this is only temporary. Although at the time they were saying that this was the new way. You know, this is when RJ from the Fourth Age quit comics. You know, he was so, but I
thought it was going to come back.
I didn't collect them. The only one I collected was the Fantastic Four because I'm such a crazy person. I could not stop collecting the Fantastic Four. I was like a compulsion. I had to get, and the Fantastic Four was the best out of them all. I really liked how they tied all the Silver Surfer and all the Heralds of Galactus together as the four elements, and the Fantastic Four were the four elements, and the Inhumans and everything revolved around Galactus. I thought they did. If they did the Heroes Reborn as the movies, I would be happy. But there you go. But I was glad when it ended, and then went
Walt
back.
Simonson did write the back half of the Avengers, but I don't think I was reading it by then.
And so Roy, so you popped in. What were you saying about Two Rings?
Yeah, I mean, when I was reading Lord of the Rings and Narnia, like I did some research a while back too. I think Narnia had 2 rings. It was a yellow ring and a green ring, and or maybe there's multiple ones, but you could like travel back and forth through the different worlds. And I think it was like in the prequels. I looked up the book. It was from the Magician's Nephew.
Yeah, that's the first one.
That's the first one, right? Yeah, so they could travel back and forth. And that's actually how they got to the White Witch and stuff. But Lewis and Tolkien were, I think, like drinking buddies.
Right,
And,
the Inklings.
Right, yeah, and then I think the rings came up, and the one guy's like, "Well, I'm gonna have an evil ring." The other guy's like, "Well, I'm gonna have rings that are just magical." But they talked about magical rings, which kind of was interesting to me.
Well, there was also the Ring of the Nibelung from Wagnerian opera and Norse mythology.
Oh, right.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they're pulling from everywhere, right? I mean,
right.
they were well read themselves.
And Beowulf there was a magic ring in Beowulf. There was Aladdin's ring. So
we do for a good Beowulf for adaptation.
Yeah, I'm all hoping. I have no hope for the Odyssey movie. Just the casting alone makes me.
But it is Christopher Nolan, but the casting's kind of odd, right?
Yeah.
Was it Beowulf or Gilgamesh that like there's no known author, like they don't know who wrote it?
Beowulf.
That was Beowulf, right? They don't know who wrote it.
Yeah, Gilgamesh, they don't know who wrote either. They just found it on
kind of just like lost in
you're right, but I know Beowulf is the first heroic story.
Beowulf was like Norway or Norse, like the Vikings wrote it, something like that.
Mm-hmm. Did you see the one? What's it called?
It was like first story written in English. Beowulf.
It was like the CGI adaptation when it came out a few years ago.
I got extra credit for drawing.
I
want to see it because it's like the closest to like full nudity of Angelina Jolie, but I did not.
There you go.
Yeah, no, it was creepy. But
well,
it was good.
You know who wrote that? You know who wrote the screenplay for that?
No.
Neil Gaiman.
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
Yeah,
okay, that makes sense. Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting.
It was,
I like his work.
It was 1996. Okay, so Heroes Reborn was 1996. Civil War was the last string for me. Marvel forgot who they were, and they threw us away. The dance. I pee on Marvel Reborn. Jim Lee can't write a the Image guys are not known as good writers. That's why when I talk about Project Analysis, Paul Thayer's comic, I always say it's like Image Comics, but well written. So it's not like Image.
Did any of them become a good writer?
I'm sorry?
Did any of them become a good writer? I don't think so, right?
I left DC after the New 52. Yep, that was my jumping off point. And I left Marvel at the end of the Secret Wars where Doom became the Emperor. So those were my jumping off.
Oh, points. I saw your reason Doom, like some of your posts.
Yeah.
The Doom argument you got. I didn't understand their argument against you at all.
They were talking about how they were saying like Doom isn't a bad guy because in Latvia the people love him. There's no crime. They have universal health care. So I basically said, you guys would love it in North Korea. You would love it in North Korea. You got universal health care. There's no crime. I hate to say this, but you 20-year-olds, you get a little universe. Like you don't want responsibility. You don't want free. Dr. Doom is evil. Dr. Doom
is evil. He's the most evil. Well, Red Skull might be more evil. I'm unsure.
John, did you already go off about Robert Downey Jr. being Dr. Doom again? I mean, that must have been a conversation.
I didn't go off on it because I don't care.
Is Dr. Doom lawful evil or neutral evil?
I would say he's neutral evil. Neutral evil is selfishly evil. Dark side.
Okay, Lex Luthor. Lex Luthor's got to be neutral evil.
Yes.
You don't reckon Doom's lawful evil?
No, because Doom is about himself. He's not about following rules. The only rules that matter are the rules that he himself wants. He's about ego. He's not chaotic. Yeah. He's predictable, but he's not about like this is the way it's going to be because this is the best. No, it's about what I decide is the best. To me, neutral evil is always.
But isn't that lawful evil though? Because lawful evil characters try to impose their set of values, their approach. It's my way or the highway. My rules. They want to organize the world in their image. That's my understanding of lawful evil. That's why I always thought of Doom as a lawful evil character.
Magneto too.
Yeah, very much so. Magneto
doesn't mean they're not narcissistic though.
No. Well, maybe just a little bit narcissistic, but they have a code, right? There's a core set of beliefs. Whereas neutral, that's a good one. Oh, that's a good movie.
Yeah, well, the cities in Russia, to that end, are immaculate. The trains run on time. They look like there's no dirt. It's not like the cities of the West that are falling apart.
That's because they spend money on infrastructure.
I'm sorry,
Right.
Roy.
They spend money on infrastructure. I feel like with everything going on, I'm not political at all, but like, can we just spend money on like, cool trains and like, cyberpunk stuff instead of just wasting it all? Like, I haven't been to Japan or Hong Kong, but supposedly it's just like nuts because they spend so much money on the roads.
Oh,
and
Japan! My son's been to Japan.
Yeah,
the last couple of years, and not like within the last 5 years.
Mhm.
And he says it's unbelievable. Bring back the
Yeah.
pictures. You see
Yeah.
you could get all your sushi perfectly in a
yeah.
You know,
I want magic sushi. Come on, what the hell? This
magic sushi. Yeah,
Sounds awesome.
he's
And a
gonna
bullet
go to
train.
Singapore, too.
I want a bullet train. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Why don't we have bullet trains?
He's going to
That's
go to
just
Singapore
unacceptable.
too.
I will
Although
say this is my argument for Doom being neutral evil over lawful evil.
All right.
He changes too much. Darkseid has the same values, the same set of rules for all eternity. And these are the rules, and everybody knows what you have to do. With Dr. Doom, it changes with his ego. You know what I mean? Like the people walking around going, what do we do today? What do we do today? Whatever Doom wants us to do. They don't know how to behave because it changes with this man's mood and ego. Whereas, Magneto kind of has a code that he follows. I'll say like Loki is chaotic evil.
Yeah.
I would say that.
But I will say Doom is all about, it's me, it's what I want. You know what? Today I feel like being a hero. And then he's going to go off and pretend to be Iron Man. And he's like, I'm done with this. A lawful evil guy would have the same wake up.
Consistency.
But anyway, so is Rachel Ziegler, what evil is she? I think she's neutral evil too, because it's all about her ego.
I don't want to defend Gen Z, but my kids are 28, 26.
Mark,
they work really hard.
We all understand that there's exceptions.
I want to be noted that my kids are the exception.
I call that the apples to bushels fallacy.
And one's studying to be a vet out in California.
Great.
I want to give a shout out to Hojo. Hojo has a great comic called Mythicals. Issue number 3 is
Hojo.
Available now.
Oh.
It's a lot of fun. Marcus, you're slacking.
Yeah, I'm getting to it now. It's easier for me to do it on my phone, I think.
So anyway, let's get back to the topic at hand. I knew we were going to drift this week, but I kind of do love the drifting. So Roy, you're the only one who really hasn't talked about the topic at hand. I just said Narnia versus Middle Earth, and I left it open to interpretation. Like it could be a military battle, it could be just emotional. I like this better, or it could be, I read this book, so therefore I like it. What do you think?
I am a Middle Earth fan. But a friend of mine had a conversation one time in like a podcast. He said, "Would you want to live in the world of Harry Potter?" And I was kind of thought of that. Like it's horrifying. Like that's a horrible place to live, right? So now, like, would I rather live in the Narnia world or would I live in the Lord of the Rings world? And I think I'd rather be in the Lord of the Rings world. I feel like Narnia is cool, but I feel like I don't know. It's a lot more. I don't want to say more dangerous. They're both dangerous, but just more dangerous in a weird way. And I don't know if that makes sense, but I'm going to go.
Where would you live? Where would you live in Middle Earth?
I like to eat. I like the Shire sounds pretty good, and smoking and drinking. I mean, that sounds pretty good. Maybe I go to Bree a little bit and have a little adventure near the woods and come back. I don't know if I'd be all over. In D&D, my character is very adventurous, but as I get older, maybe less so.
Don't
you wouldn't be a
Roy's role-playing characters.
You wouldn't be a man of Rohan riding across the plains seeking adventure.
I don't know. That sounds pretty good. I mean, as long as I'm not alone, there's other horse guys, so that might be okay. But yeah, I mean, the Rohan thing, I would love to be with the elves, like the whole Rivendell and that magical thing. I probably want to be in armor, I'd like forge weapons. That's what I'd probably like to do.
Since food in England is really bad, I'm not looking forward to food in either Narnia.
Samwise did say that we have fish and chips, and that's when he brings up the lines. It's made of potatoes or something like that.
Yeah.
I'm seeing a lot of people who want to live in the Shire, and I cannot disagree with anybody here. The Shire.
Narnia.
I think
law.
Roy just
I
stumbled
need to
on.
get direct TV so I can watch NFL football though.
Roy, you just gave me a good way to settle this. Now we got a bunch of people watching, got a bunch of people in the back. Where would you want to live? Now I will say this, Roy. We do live in the Harry Potter world. We're just muggles. We don't know about it. So
Yeah. There's a lot of secret stuff going on. They found the Ark of the Covenant, and the pyramids are like laser beams, and it's a strange world we're living in.
Dirty Fatty says, and this is totally valid. I'm afraid to live anywhere that has.
Well, you're not living in New Zealand, then that's for sure.
The giant spiders are kind of creepy.
Something tells me that there was giant spiders in Narnia, though.
Yeah, Narnia had some weird creatures. They had like all the fantasy creatures, I think.
Minotaurs.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Minotaurs.
Giant cyclopses.
But they also had Santa Claus, and that to me that would probably balance out.
Which
As an arms dealer, Santa Claus is an arms dealer.
Yes.
Which has the hotter women? That's what's really important.
Well, in Narnia, you just got animals, isn't that right?
Yeah,
there's people. There's some kingdoms. There's kingdoms. Because there's the Telmarines.
There's a Middle Eastern kingdom. There's the Narnian world.
Yeah.
I will say that the elf chicks were all beautiful. So as far as
there's that,
you can't go wrong with a beautiful, eternally young elf chick. Except they're probably depressed half the time. You
didn't like the Hobbit women, John? I mean, they look pretty good, right? Like 4 foot tall, 5 foot tall, you get to go.
My wife, she wants to be like Rosie Cotton, and she wants me to be Samwise.
Well, Samwise is a incredibly important character. I mean, gosh, you could do a lot worse than being Samwise.
Yeah, Samwise.
Everyone needs a friend like him.
Samwise is one of the greatest characters in all of fiction, if you ask me. No joke. So where would I want to live? Oh, I'll answer last. So Roy, you already said you would want to live in Middle Earth.
I would go. I mean, somebody said nymphs. I mean, that was a pretty good. That was a pretty good point. But I have to do a little research on what they actually do. But yeah, I'll go with Middle Earth. Yeah.
RR, where would you want to live?
Middle Earth all the way.
Any specific place? Any specific time?
Oh gosh. Well, I mean, I don't watch the Rings of Power show, so I don't know anything about that. I read the Silmarillion a long time ago.
I banished the Rings of Power from my streams.
All right, cool. Doesn't exist. Never happened. Well, of course, the Shire would be nice, but I think life would be interesting as a citizen of Gondor or Rohan, or even Numenor at its height before the fall. Before Ar-Pharazôn and the sinking of the island. That could be an interesting place to live as well. So that assuming I was just a human being, I mean, if you're a hobbit, if you are a non-human creature, you live with the rest of your people. If you're a dwarf, you live either in Erebor, the Lonely Mountain, or in the Iron Hills, right? If you're an elf, you live in Lothlorien or Rivendell, right? So you're kind of limited by ethnicity. So if I was just a human, though, Gondor, Rohan, Numenor, all great places. So yeah, Middle Earth.
Nick of Time, Luniverse, whatever you want to call yourself these days. Stop confusing me. Where would you live? Where would you pick?
Well, I need to do more research on Narnia. I know the line "Rich in the Wardrobe" timeline. Correct me if I'm wrong. Has there been periods of darkness in Narnia?
The winter. There's the incredibly long winter that when the Queen was dominant before the Pevensey children arrived.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I would rather live through the winter than if there was a chance then Sauron would win. I don't know, but then again, the Shire and the sorry, I'm blanking. The kingdom where Aragon rules. Gondor. Sorry, I'm blanking on names. Gondor would be nice. I would probably be a human in Middle Earth because I don't want my women to have hairy feet to be a hobbit, and I definitely don't want them to be a dwarf because they say they look just like the men. So I would just be
just the beards.
Yeah,
not the beard.
Oh, it's like Anna, that Star Wars girl or something.
Yeah, I would just probably be a human on Middle Earth, and yeah.
We have an excellent question. What's Sauron's tax policy? Dance of Isafar would probably be the scariest world to. Yeah, I would not want to live in the.
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah,
No way.
I think
no good.
I think I'm going to have to say Middle Earth. I like the idea of the Shire. There seems to be, they have parties. There's, there's probably you could probably play pool. You could introduce them to pool. You could play pool at the bar there. They have like bars and stuff. I like that idea. And they will have good bread and sausage. So they will be something to eat. And then I don't. It depends on the weather. I don't know how bad their winters are, but there are. If you're a man of adventure, I think that has a little more adventure going, danger. So there's a little edge to it too. Assuming I'm young.
The Shire has the same kind of winters as say England.
Well, I lived in New York. What's the difference?
So they got those stuff, and then of course there was the year that there was no summer. And there was a plague. You know what I mean? So like. But what we see is the Shire is like the high point and lovely.
I like the idea of living in a hill. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, I would love to live.
There's a hill. You open the door. Yeah, I live in here.
The closest I get to go to living in Bilbo's house, Frodo's house, is when Roy and I go to Scott's house to play D&D. Scott,
right?
his game room looks like the Green Dragon Inn.
Yeah, it's like a tavern. Yeah,
I did work at a house not far from here. And it was just all regular house, and this thing looked like a castle. The outside of it,
nice.
It looked like it'd be part of Middle Earth, and they had like the dancing flames, on the side.
The long winter and the Telmarine occupation.
Yeah.
So for me, it's no question I would live in Middle Earth. Now,
you'd be king of Middle Earth.
The thing is, I always thought of myself as an elf. In reality, I'd be a dwarf because I'm a construction worker. But I would be happiest with my wife and I living in the Shire, visiting, Rosie Cotton and Samwise Gamgee and stuff like that. Like after the events of Lord of the Rings, when Samwise was the mayor for 100 years or something like that, that would be so awesome to live there. But if I could absolutely pick, I would be an elf living in Valinor during the time of the trees. Like 10,000 years of just these glowing trees. It's and they said that in Valinor every type of fantasy animal lived there, so it is like Narnia. You got unicorns. You probably have talking bears and beavers, and you know what I mean. It would just be. But I just
hang on, John. If you lived then as an elf, you would have to live to see it all destroyed in the War of Wrath.
Right.
You would have to live through the destruction of all of that. Would you want that too?
Well, the only thing that happened was the 2 trees got killed, and then a couple of days later.
Well, they by Ungoliant, right?
Yeah.
But then all of Beleriand was sunk, though. Like,
but
when the water, because
I'm in Valinor. I don't.
John, do you?
You're across the sea.
John, do you think 10,000 years would be enough to finish all your board games, or would you need more time?
Probably. I think 10,000 years would be enough to read all the comics that I didn't read, and to master all the board games, I think I would need another age.
Do they have comics in Middle Earth? I mean, come on.
If they didn't, what good is it?
Well, I think they would have more of those English graphic novels that only come out once a year.
Yeah. John cuts down the sacred trees to make paper for his comic books. Gets kicked out.
What are you doing?
You can just make one.
You'd have to move Renzo Rodriguez there with you.
Yeah, I'm making a foil edition of Heroic Tale. Telparion.
I've got a question for you, for everyone, right? So just 2 things, right? 2 things. So are we all familiar with the prologue, the opening of Fellowship of the Ring, where they show the last alliance, where they fight on the slopes of Mount Doom, and Sauron comes out with his mace and starts smashing the shit out of everyone. We all seen that?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So 2 things. Thing 1, if you freeze frame it, when Sauron's sort of looming over Isildur and Elendil, who are lying on the ground, right? Because Elendil's dead, and he's going to grab the sword. I don't know what it's called before it's Anduril, but anyway,
Narsil.
If you freeze frame it there, Narsil. If you freeze frame it there, this is the level of detail. There's blood on Sauron's mace. They actually took the time, and this is a 1 second freeze frame. There's blood on Sauron's mace, and it's Elendil's blood, right?
Oh, wow.
He's just bashed him. Yeah, so that's the first thing. Second thing, I saw Gran Torino a while ago, and I watched Lord of the Rings. I rewatched it recently because I rewatch it all the time, but I couldn't help. But that scene where Sauron is smashing his way through the army of the Númenóreans, in my head, I just hear the words, "Get off my lawn." Anybody else?
No. You're the only
Did
one.
anyone else hear that?
It's funny though. It's funny. I like it. I like that.
Would the Punisher prefer life in Narnia or Middle Earth?
Middle Earth, there's more wars.
Middle Earth, because he could go down to past Mordor to like the lands of the east and just kill anybody because they worship Sauron and Morgoth. You know, I don't.
He'd be busy.
He would be busy. Yeah,
he would be busy.
I will have to say, like, now that I think about it more, like, yeah, Narnia would be a cool place to visit, but I don't see anywhere where I would like to live. Like, Gondor is like Gondor or the Shire will be the only places I can see myself living in. You know, but I would have to choose Gondor because, again, I don't want my women having hairy feet. Although I could just visit the Shire because Gandalf visits the Shire and he's not in the Hobbit.
Yeah.
You could bring a supply of Nair with you.
Yeah, there you go.
And
other places that I would like to live, like you already brought up Numenor during the height of its power, you know, like to be like one of the founding members, like during the time of, I forget his name, the shipwright who explored the
Círdan.
Yes, not Círdan. I'm getting to Círdan later, but there was the seafaring king of Numenor that basically Numenor was for 2,000 years they were just by themselves to the point they abandoned it. They only stuck to Numenor.
I'm looking at my copy of Lord of the Rings.
And then they rediscovered sailing and whatever. And he contacted Galahad and they reestablished.
Where's my copy of Lord of the Rings?
And then
it's gonna bug me now.
But if
I'm gonna find my copy of Lord of the Rings.
If I couldn't live in Valinor and in the Shire, it would be the Grey Havens under Círdan, the shipwright. Because
why not?
The Grey Havens.
Why not Rivendell? Rivendell, the ultimate retirement home.
Let me finish talking.
Sorry, John.
It would be the Grey Haven. It's the only place in all of Middle Earth that was never invaded or conquered.
Well, like I said, it's very time period dependent too. Like you pick the Second Age, something like that. Like Narnia might be nice, but at some point, I think the witch like froze the whole world, right? She froze stuff and was turning people like into lawn ornaments, like Medusa or something like that, and just smashing people. And then that's not a great time to be there. But maybe other times in the beginning, with the Dawn Treader, like there was all like the ships and stuff. It was the ocean adventures. I mean, that might be okay.
And then the later years, it was all war. In the last two books, I think, like all of Narnia was. And
it was all the different monsters and creatures, all types of stuff was fighting, right?
Right. Yeah. Like we could all agree that Aslan would one-on-one beat anybody in Middle Earth. Aslan was Jesus. You know what I mean? And whether you're religious or not, what he's supposed to be. He outranks Gandalf, Sauron, and everything like that. So, taking out Aslan, who is like the premier warrior of Narnia? Is it one of
the witch?
Yeah, the White Witch.
With the witch, do you think her versus Sauron? What do you think? Is that a good battle?
Well, she's the personified of the devil, I think. But is Sauron the same thing? like it was I know the story, but I just don't know the backstory of like
Aslan was one of the Sauron was one of the levels of angels, right? There's different levels of angels.
He's a Maya.
Yeah, so he is like Lucifer and the devil.
No, Morgoth, who's a Vala. He's Lucifer.
Yeah, Morgoth is Satan, and then Morgoth's lieutenant was Sauron. So, that's that. But yeah, The witch was a satanic figure. Right?
I think everybody else in Narnia was really like the humans, the kings, magic weapons stuff. I don't think there was any really besides the mythical creatures, there was nobody like on that level. Like Aslan was the only like
Gandalf,
there was no Aslan was the divine figure, but there was like nobody under him, right? There was no different level orders of angels, something like that.
What about the witch against the Nazgul?
My thing is, the 9 Nazgul would have to be subordinate to Sauron, and
oh boy,
and I think the witch is the Sauron figure. So just by logic,
Sure.
she would have to be more powerful than the Nazgul. But didn't the witch have servants? Now
She did.
did.
Yeah, she did a bunch of servants.
right,
Goblins and nasty creatures and
Turkish delight.
I'm trying to find your the Sailor King.
Hello, David. How you doing? David's another one of our buddies. We play role-playing games. David and I played like hours and hours and hours of the War of the Ring, which we got to do again. Next time I'm off, Dave, we'll play that again.
Yeah, that's a good one too. I enjoyed that. Yeah.
Fun fact. When I was on my play for Narnia, the boy that played the little brother, you were supposed to eat the Turkish delight. Got Turkish delight to eat, and I was like, oh man, I wish I had some. And then he was like, and they were like, sorry, no, only him. And I'm like, damn.
The Dead Professor, is that anybody I know?
That's Scott.
Oh, hey Scott, we were just talking about your gaming room, how it looks like.
John, I picked up StreamYard for myself. I'm just going to do D&D content. Me and Dave and Scott were kind of practicing with it. I was inspired by your setup. It's so easy to use. I was just
it's very easy. It's very easy.
Yeah. So I texted him. I said, "Hey, we're on." So I thought it'd be interesting to see what it looks like with all 5 people up here, or however many you can have. It's pretty cool.
I disagree with that. I disagree with Zach down there.
Which is more direct power. Okay.
Sorry, mate.
Agree.
Well, I disagree because Sauron was straight up. Initially, when he was Anatar, Lord of Gifts, right, in his fair form, before he was sunk with Numenor, then he was subtle, manipulative. But after that, after he lost the ability to take a fair form, right. So this is, but after Morgoth is gone, Sauron, uses his wiles, the forging of the Great Rings, right. But after that, he's all about direct military conquest, right. Like the witch uses her powers to, create the winter that allows her to enslave Narnia.
Yeah.
Everyone's afraid of her, right? But Sauron is direct. He sends out direct military forces to conquer. That's what the war of the end of the Second Age is about, right? The war. Sorry, which war? That's not the War of the Ring. Is Third Age, Fourth Age.
Third Age,
God,
yeah.
the War of the Last Alliance.
Yeah,
and John, did you mean Erendil? Is that who you meant? Erendil.
I forgot. Did I mention Erendil?
I think that's who you meant by the sailor.
Oh yeah, that was Isildur's father. No,
Elrond's father. Elrond and Elros.
Yeah,
that were his son.
Their father, but one of their descendants was the Sailing King that established the colonies of Gondor and Arnor. But anyway, I'm going to say Sauron's greatest power was his deceitfulness, if you ask me. Sauron, in the First Age, he directly battled Barad Luthien and Huon the Hound whipped the hell out of him, and Sauron had to use all of his shape-changing power. So that was a direct attack, and he failed. When he came out and directly fought, he failed. He got his ring cut off. He never really directly. He was always a presence in the background. His greatest ability, to me, he was like we were just talking on my last stream. He was an Odysseus. He was a planner and a schemer,
a manipulator,
and he's also lawful evil. By the way, Morgoth was chaotic evil. Sauron was lawful evil.
Agreed.
And Sauron, one of my favorite stories about Sauron, which they're totally messing up in the Rings of Power, the show that I will not mention again, is why can't I think of the king that showed the Numenorians showed up at the last alliance of men, and before that and Sauron,
is that Elendil and Anarion?
Sauron surrendered and went to Numenor in chains, and then talked his way from the dungeons.
Oh, that's Ar-Pharazôn.
Al-Pharazôn, yes, I couldn't remember his name. Thank you. And he talked his way from the prisons to whispering in the king's ear, and it started Morgoth worship. And in Numenor, there was a hill with the temple, the Menantir or something like that, the Melantir, I forget what it is. And it was the only real religious thing that was mentioned in Lord of the Rings. They had to go up there and offer sacrifice, like basically prayers, nothing nasty to Ilúvatar. And he had them build a temple to Morgoth on top of this, and they practiced human sacrifice That's how sneaky Sauron was, and then he tricked them all into invading the Undying Lands to get immortality. So Sauron defeated them through subtlety
from within.
And then he got destroyed, and used rings and trickery. The Witch King defeated the kingdom of Arnor. So I will say that, to me, and I'm not doing a nasty argument, but I will think that Sauron is more subtle while the witch is more direct. She froze the people into submission, whereas Sauron.
Well, the witch did have deception and like persuasion powers, but not on the same level as Sauron. Like he was turning wizards and stuff and contacting people through the Palantir and having other people build his armies.
Right.
She kind of influences the kings.
I stand correct. I will go with that. I will change my view. No, I see what you're saying, Zachtan. I'll go with you on that one. No, you're right.
Every time
I withdraw my
physically got into a fight, he lost. He lost to Euron. He lost to Isildur. He lost to the White Council. So he was just like, enough. But his like Saruman, his greatest gift, I think, was his mind and his voice. Hey, Heroenberg is here. Coming late after Friday evening activities. Are you talking about the Palantiri, the communication stuff? Yeah.
I mentioned them. I just mentioned them for a second.
Yeah. There's a whole in the appendices. Our can back me up. They got the rules of how they work.
I'll be back in a second.
Sure. I'm just going to bring you down so everybody's bigger.
Right? I met John Noble last year. John Noble was here in New Zealand for a con. He was amazing. I got a photo with him. I'll send it to you. He was such a nice guy. He was fantastic.
When he was doing Fringe.
Yeah, he talks about Fringe heaps. So I asked a question about it. John Noble was lovely. Took a photo, shook my hand, and I said to him, the rule of Gondor is yours and no others. And he said, yeah, that's right, mate. And he shook my hand.
He's a New
great
Zealand
guy. Right? No, he's Australian.
Oh, he's Australian. So he's your mortal enemy then, right?
No, not at all. But no, he only when there's cricket on. Yeah, he was great though, John Noble. Such a nice guy. Andy Serkis too. Really lovely guy.
I might as well give a shout out to where is he? The dead professor over here is the one who 3D printed my
nice
my Patriarch mini. That'll be on the new campaign launching next Friday. So you can get that.
Nice.
It's just that my 3D printer's in the garage and it's too cold to 3D. Maybe tomorrow I could 3D print. It's gonna be like 70 degrees here. Are the Palatiris telephones or radios? Yes. They transmit your thoughts. So when you look into the stone, your thoughts are transmitted into whoever else is looking at the stone. So they're like telepathic radio, but they're also more than that, because if Roy is unaware and we're both looking, I could use my will to override his will.
Yeah, and that happened in the movies and the books, So
I listened to a Nerd of the Rings and it's a YouTube channel about Lord of the Rings. Yeah. I never realized how much Sauron created his own defeat, because Sauron, he knew that through Smeagol, through Gollum, that a hobbit had the ring.
Yeah,
and according to Sauron's way of thinking, you could only use the ring's power to amplify your glory and lust for rule and control. So when he heard that he was traveling with Gandalf and Aragorn, Sauron was like, one of those two guys is going to take the ring. That's the only way it could possibly be.
Yeah.
So he was convinced of that. And then he really didn't know. Yeah, he obviously never knew what the plan was. That's why they were sneaking. That's why they didn't use the eagles. And that's why if you read the books, what's his name didn't go with them, Glorfindel, because he was too shiningly bright, powerful.
Yeah, they would have seen him. They would have seen him.
Yeah. So, but when Pippin looked into the ring, he saw Sauron, and he saw and then Aragorn picked up the Palantir.
Oh, he looked at the Palantir, and he
Palantir.
There said that's the Hobbit with the ring, and then Aragorn announced himself, and now Sauron is like, he's going to take the ring from Pippin and declare war on me, and that's what distracted. So, Sauron moved his armies, and Frodo and Bilbo were able to sneak into. It's just so brilliant. And here's my favorite little nugget of Tolkien is Olorian is Gandalf's real name back when he lived in Valinor. And Olorian was all the Maya usually were assigned to the Valar, as so he was a Maya assigned to now the name's gonna drive me nuts. I'm sure you know, but she was
Manwë.
What's that? No.
Which one is it? Is it Aule the Maker?
No,
the one who made the dwarves?
Saruman worked for Aule, and Sauron worked for Aule. All of Aule's minions became bad guys, but Olorian worked for the one of pity. Yavanna? No, she was the nature one.
I'll see if I can find it.
But she was the Vaya that wept for the world and pity. She was the wife of the Doom Speaker of that's another one whose name I'm blanking out on. But anyway, his portfolio was pity. And when he came to Middle Earth, and he witnessed the famine created by the storms by Sauron, or maybe the Witch King. I forget which one did it. And he saw that all the men were basically killing each other off for food. The dwarves stayed underground and escaped it. The elves, they semi-divine anyway. He said, but the hobbits, out of all the races of men, had pity on each other. And even though they were suffering, they were helping each other, giving each other food. And that's why he fell in love with the Shire and the hobbits. And then he lectures Samwise and Frodo and Bilbo about pity. That's why you didn't kill Gollum and everything. And ultimately, his pity is what saves all of Middle Earth. And you're going to tell me that Tolkien didn't think of that? He had Gandalf as a Maya working for that's going to drive me nuts. Now I got to, you guys talk, look up the names.
Hey, John, you know that, I mean, one of the things about Tolkien was that, Tolkien was a very, very devout Catholic, right?
Yeah. Yes, here we go.
The date that Frodo throws the ring that the ring goes into the fire is the same date as the Feast of the Annunciation of Mary.
Oh, really?
Oh, that's funny.
It is.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
That
has to be deliberate.
He influenced Lewis to add more religious stuff, I think, in his stuff.
Right. We talked about that earlier. That Lewis was an atheist, and through conversations with Tolkien, he basically reaffirmed his lost Christianity. Yeah. Thank you, Herrenberg. I should have known that you, of all people, he's another
great job.
Logic Finest says, John, quick question. Why don't you like the cast of the Odyssey? A lot of really good actors. Personally, I'm not happy about Mike Damon as Odysseus, but he's a good actor as well. I got to look at the casting again. I just remember being disappointed. Logic Finest, if you remind me, I'll look it up, and either I'll talk about it next week or
Lupita Nyong'o as Athena, I think, is one of the controversial ones.
Yeah, the pale Athena, shining white pale Athena with the great eyes.
Athena,
first off, Lupi, whatever is beautiful, and she's got this glorious skin. I think she's outstanding, but she's not Athena, and I hate that kind of casting. Yes, the Greek gods are shape changers. Yes, they could appear as a golden shower, literally, or they could appear as a ram. But normal.
I don't know if they appear as a golden shower.
Interesting choice of words, John. Interesting choice of words.
Perseus's mother, Pasiphae, was impregnated by a golden shower of rain and light. That was Zeus. Zeus was a golden shower on Pasiphae. There's no allegories. Nothing's on purpose. It's all coincidence. I don't believe in coincidence. I also believe, as Roy believes, it could all be traced back to Tartaria.
Oh, you're gonna start the Tartarian Empire thread. I don't know if they're ready for the truth.
Roy introduced me to my new favorite conspiracy theory, Tartaria.
I do like conspiracies, yeah.
He has to get all the credit for helping me flesh out a character in an upcoming comic book called Season.
Conspiracy theories. My favorite conspiracy theories. Well, I shouldn't say Michelle Obama is a man, but that's.
There's no. Oh, I already saw that one. Not the shower you want. No.
Yeah.
I
think Elliot Page in the film too.
Personally, I don't see why anyone would leave an island where Vanessa Williams keeps you eternally young. Yeah, I know. But here's the thing: as these younger creeps, Odysseus loved his wife. Not only did he love his wife, he had a responsibility as the king of Ithaca. You know, so it's familial love and responsibility to his duties that the Greeks were saying was more important. And yes, we could giggle at the word duties. We're not above that here on John's Long Box. Athena's not black. No, you don't think she's attractive? I think she's attractive.
Oh,
But
well, dispute with that. I think she's very attractive. But yeah,
what's attractive and not is like arguing what's delicious or not. You know what I mean? So that's one. The Tartarians run Hollywood, absolutely.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
They're overrepresented in the Supreme Court.
They can get there through their underground what's it called, railway system. They probably have bullet trains underground.
Vanessa Williams, as my father said.
Vanessa Williams would be great.
Nolan bent the knee to the Wook. I don't know. I want to like it, but I have a hard case about casting.
But in Hollywood, they have a certain amount of part of the cast has to be black, has to be LGBT, a certain amount of people that are doing the production, and cameramen have to be the same. It's not always a decision that it's the best person available. They have to make the change somewhere, or they can't make the movie.
But they can't. You can't make him gay. There's no story.
Right.
No, can't happen.
But I'm saying there's movies that weren't even up. There's a Reagan movie that Dennis Quaid made, and it wasn't up for any awards because there wasn't enough black people in it. Of course, at that time the story was there happened not to be any black people. They didn't change it.
I think Hollywood.
If they make Odysseus gay, then it ruins the whole point.
There's no story.
Trying to get back to his wife. They're probably making Achilles gay, which is historically accurate or mythologically accurate. Yeah. Supposedly he fought. Why can't I think of that? They made it a woman in the Brad Pitt movie, Briasis.
Yeah, Patroclus.
Patroclus was his squire, for lack of a better word, but he had a slave boy named Briasis. In the movie, they made it a
Briseis, yeah. In Troy.
Right.
Brad Pitt, Eric Bana.
Who's hotter, Lita Ford or Joan Jett? Lita Ford was hotter for a brief second, but I still like Joan Jett. I like Joan Jett. It's been mandated by the Academy. Yes.
Well, hang on then. How did Nolan win with Oppenheimer? He won Best Director, Best Picture, Best Actor, and very few people of color or alphabet community folks in sight.
I have to say, I have not paid attention to any award show unless Ricky Gervais is the host. I haven't paid attention to an award show in 20, 30 years.
How does those laws, the DEI, whatever, how do those laws apply to doesn't the UK have a movie production of their own, like
BAFTAs? Hollywood?
Yeah,
BAFTAs are the British awards.
I think Hollywood is, and it's just hurting in general. You have Twitch, you have YouTube streaming, you have these small production companies. Netflix makes their own movies, Amazon. There's so many ways to get content now. I used to love to go to movies as a kid, but now I got 17 days to see the movie, and then it's already online. And if I don't make it, I'm like, oh, I guess I'm not going to the movies anymore. And I don't know. I don't know if that's good or bad. But
my wife and I used to love going to the movies, and we went.
The whole experience, right? The popcorn, the soda.
Yeah, we would go to the movies. We'd go to dinner. Then we would talk.
Yeah, it was a date night.
Yeah. And now there's nothing. Here's how bad it is. I want to go see A Working Man, the new Statham movie, because Chuck Dixon wrote the novel that it's based on. Chuck Dixon I'm Chuck Dixon's buddy, according to him. He said it, not me. So he sent me mail that said, to my buddy John from John's Long Box. So I want to go and support him. The movie was released yesterday, and Chuck Dixon showed it's being released on DVD already.
That's what I'm saying. It's too fast. I think I saw the timelines. It was 17 and I don't know what the other one. 17 and 23 days were timelines for the movie theaters. It's and the movies are saying, hey, we need a movie in here for more than 2 weeks. You don't make enough movies to just not have it before you release it. I mean, maybe the movie stays in the theater a little bit longer, but all of a sudden it's on home for $6 or free on some. And you're like, oh, I'll just stay home and put my feet up and watch it.
Right.
And you lose that experience.
Yeah.
I want to address a question in the chat, Herrenberg, they say that you can make a movie, you just can't participate in the Oscars. No. I'm like, why do I care? Well, at this point, the Oscars is dead to me, as an audience member. So why it may be a dumb question, but why should I care whether or not my movie gets a award by a bunch of fart sniffers?
Yeah, but not everybody in Hollywood will feel that way, you know.
Old Dirty Fatty asked, "Has anybody seen Becoming Led Zeppelin?" But me, I didn't know
No.
there was. I didn't know. Now I got to see it. I love Led Zeppelin. They're still one of my favorite bands. Oppenheimer was before the rule went into effect, but it only started last year. I didn't know any.
Thank you. Thanks for clearing that up.
I'm waiting it for come out of VHS. There you go. I'm waiting for Betamax because Oscar wins drive viewership. Yeah, it's
Really?
everybody.
don't.
I'm not sure if I
think
believe that.
so.
I
don't
believe
think
it.
so.
People,
All right.
how many
No,
people,
there's
all of
people
a
who
sudden
say I'm going
become
to go see all the
baseball
Oscar
fans
movies.
of the team that's going to be in the World Series? You know what I mean?
Well,
People want to jump on a bandwagon. It's
what was better?
I just want to bring this up. This is my buddy Ben Oden's campaign that he just launched.
Oh,
He's already at $1,200. Good for him.
What is this a game or a book?
It's a comic book.
oh.
Okay.
He was on my channel at 7:00. We talked. We did a pre-launch, and then he went to Michael Bancroft's to actually launch. And this guy, as much as I know about mythology, this guy, I am like the student to him being the teacher. I'm so good. I'm definitely backing it. I'm going to back it right now. I'm just taking my thing down because you don't need to see any of my credit card information. Matt Damon says, Luke's logic's fine. Matt Damon gave a breakdown. Streaming has killed DVD sales, so studios have to push for big butt. You know, I'll defer to everybody on that. It makes sense. What was the last physical video movie that you guys bought? I bought a DVD of the Venture Brothers, the 2-hour movie, because I have all the Venture Brothers on DVD. I wanted the last one, but other than that,
I bought some 1950 sci-fi stuff, giant robot, giant women, something like that. It was it's like a little 4-pack. It's something I couldn't really find, and I mean the stuff is super cheesy, but I was like, oh, it's cool just to own. And I was into like that game Horrified, remember? And they had like all the older sci-fi stuff. I'm like, I'd like to see some of the older movies just to see what it was about back then. But
I'm back at Elysian Fields right now. You don't need to see my credit card information.
Hey, John.
Oh, I got it already. It's not a big deal, John.
Is your campaign up for
right. My
issue
credit
2?
card is not a big deal. You're absolutely 100% right.
wait till you back yourself on next Friday.
Yeah. Hey, John, is your campaign up for issue 2 of Heroic Tales?
Yeah, it's up. It's going live a week from today.
Okay. No, just waiting for it to come out. So, because I'm definitely I'll chip in for that because I really enjoyed Heroic Tales 1. It was great.
Thank you. If anybody missed, you could get 1 and 2. We're going to bundle it. The campaign for issue 1 is going to stay up because I figured a couple of people told me they didn't want to back my book until I delivered because they've been burnt before. I can't argue with that logic. And now that not only am I produced the comic, but I'm actually going for second. So like, I want to get issue number 1. So if you want to get issue 1 right away, go to the issue 1 campaign. I'll mail it that night. Somebody backed it last night. It's going in the mail tomorrow. But if you back issue 1 on the new campaign, I got to wait till the whole campaign is over. I can't, you know what I mean? I can't break down things like that. It'll just be too confusing. And then some people will get 3 copies and other people will get 0. You know what I mean? So I'll keep both things open. If you just want 1 and you want it right away, back the old campaign. If
I don't want to be me.
Save on shipping, back the new campaign.
But why should you be punished because somebody else couldn't fulfill their campaign? That logic makes no sense to me.
No, I understand.
Individual.
I myself have been burnt.
I mean, you can't argue with that's how they feel.
I probably have, and I'm going to whisper because I don't need my wife busting my chops. I probably have like $400 in campaigns that are just gone. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but John, the campaigns you're doing, you're dropping like your big money on like a game, like comic book. I don't know. I back. No, but I'm saying on a comic book, it wasn't even that much, right? It was like what $20 for the
10,
I got
10 bucks.
I got a couple different versions. I spent a little bit more, but that's not like to throw down 20. Be like, okay, I'll take a shot, especially if it's you. But I would be careful on something like the game campaign, $200-$300. It's like
if you wanna watch the like if I would had a question, gee, I want to back somebody. I had a question about them. I'd watch his show like we're watching what we're doing right now. What kind of guy is he? How does he do? How does he react with Nick and RR and Roy? And then see if you're a good guy. And then you've already backed away just to make a blanket statement about crowdfunders because you got burned. That's not fair.
It's not fair, but it's human nature, you know.
Well, no, crowdfunding isn't for them. Go to the
and I backed some campaigns from people that I liked, and I still haven't gotten my comics yet. You know what I mean? So I'm not trying to talk anybody out of backing.
No, I understand what I'm saying. I'm just saying that's just my feeling on it. And I also think that mostly campaigns are reasonably on time. There's been big ones that are not, and we know who they are, but most of them are fulfilled within the month. If the problem usually is at the printer at that point, you sent it to the printer at time, and the printer gets held up, or they missed something, like you caught something on when they sent you.
I was
that's an understandable lateness,
but I had to pull it out, and it went to the bottom.
But you're not really late, and it's not on you. And then you'll send out the update. Listen, I got it, and there's a mistake. They're fixing the mistake. I'll get it again next week, and we'll send it out. You know, I think most of everybody's really cognizant that most people are trying to get their books done ahead of time, or mostly ahead of time. So we just want to encourage them that you're a good person.
I'm a good person. Has anybody seen the Rust trailer? It looks like a killer movie. At first,
No,
I
I'm
thought it was a legitimate question until I realized it's a joke. It's a joke. That's the movie where somebody died, unfortunately. And
Roy knows you in real life. Is he a good person, Roy?
Yeah, John's great. He's a gentleman.
That's what I'm saying.
He runs a good Villages and Vigilantes campaign too.
You come to my house, as much soda as you want to drink. Iced tea, I got it all.
Water, coffee. I got him on a health kick though. I haven't eaten chicken now, so we're doing good.
Chicken, yeah, that's good.
When Roy and Dave and Scott first started coming over, it was chili. Now we're having chicken salad.
I'm not opposed to the chili. The chili was good too.
I like chicken salad. I like chicken salad, guy.
Great book. I hope you're talking about my book. This book looks awesome.
It looks really good. I got to look into see how much that is.
I wasn't saying that you were saying that. I was just mad at the situation in general. I wasn't getting mad at you.
I don't think Harrenberg is getting upset. I think he knows you. He's a good guy.
Yeah.
He who loved physical contact has been vindicated by Kindle. Amazon has revoked viewership for books you've bought but not downloaded. Really?
Yeah, crazy stuff. I've heard that too.
I don't like that they edit out Nick Fury and Wolverine smoking cigars at a digital Marvel Comics. I don't want my stuff tampered with. I don't like censorship. I don't like what are they going to do? They're going to reprint the Spirit and edit out Ebony because he's politically correct these days. You know what I mean?
Will Eisner was getting crap for it in the 80s.
He was getting crap for it in the 40s. You know, so I am a physical media guy.
Hey,
my wife likes to get DVDs. We still got a whole room full of DVDs upstairs. I'm buying physical records. You know, what is this? Yeah, you will own nothing and be happy. You know, I like my stuff. Amazon appear even if you buy an ebook for your Kindle, you don't own it. Yeah.
Wow. Amazon just changed that recently. They did something where you can take an ebook off the site. So if you download it, you have it. But just say you have 100 books and you forget to download them, and one day you just pull it, it's gone. So that was a recent change.
And some YouTuber they took away his magic card collection, his digital magic cards, because they disagree with him politically. You know, it's like, to me, that's up there with taking that Irish teacher's bank account because he didn't want to use somebody's preferred pronouns. It's like,
yeah, that's crazy.
I guess there's no due process in Ireland. You know, who is a better Joker?
They don't have a First Amendment, and they don't have a Second Amendment to protect their First Amendment.
Right. Who is the better Joker? Romero, Nicholson, Hamill, Ledger, Leto, or
Romero was the best Joker.
Romero was the best Joker. What do you think, Nick? Who's the best Joker?
Well, Nicholson's was pretty good.
Roy, who's the best Joker?
I mean, like, I guess it depends on a time period that you kind of grew up with, and maybe like I liked Ledger, but I think Nicholson was kind of like the one I grew up with, and I liked him the best because maybe I remember it differently.
Hamill is a good Joker in the animated series too.
Yeah, he
hasn't been a super bad Joker actually.
RR, what is your Roy?
Preferred? Well, there's two answers to the question. Who was the better Joker? As in, who's more comic book accurate? and that's much more debatable. My favorite is Ledger because his performance was so profound.
Yeah,
I mean, he's not the most comic book accurate, but I love that movie, The Dark Knight, and his performance is mesmerizing, right? When he is on screen, you cannot take your eyes off him. He's the focus of everything, and it's you get sucked into that performance with him. You get the feeling he could do anything at any moment, that he's chaos personified, right? So
He's
not the most comic book accurate, but but Ledger's my favorite adaptation.
So who do you think is the most comic book accurate then, everybody?
Oh, well, that will be Nicholson has quite a few elements. I guess Hamill probably more. Phoenix and later I don't even want to talk about.
Well,
not
Phoenix
interested.
Is not really the Joker.
No, he's not. I mean, yuck. I'm gonna go with most comic book accurate is probably. The thing is, the comic book Joker is Hamill's not a mass murderer, whereas Nicholson is. So I'm going to have to say Nicholson's probably the closest to the comic book depiction, but Ledger's my favorite.
I'll say that George Romero, Cesar Romero was up. He's the Silver Age Joker.
Yeah, right. Silver Age. Yeah.
Silver Age. Right, the Silver Age Joker that didn't really kill anybody was closest to Romero, but then after Neil Adams and Denny O'Neil got to.
We already live in the world of Animal Farm, 1984, but Animal Farm is the better book, by the way. It's one of the books that I say that you're not really educated unless you read. There's a couple of books that, like, if you're at I was going to say American, but I'll say a Western person, you should read. And Animal Farm is one of them. Heroinberg, did anyone recently get the Deadly Trio #1 in the mail? It's a very high quality book. No, I didn't know anything about it.
No, that was that book that they promoted, and it had 3 characters. It was drawn by Adriana Mello, and one of the characters by Tucci. One was created by, and I was going to back it because with the Coffin Comics is they pay for shipping, and then Jimmy posted one of his things, and I said I'm not backing a book by Jimmy Palmiotti. I didn't back it. That's what it comes down to. Sorry.
Yeah, I forgot all about it. Yeah, it was Billy Tucci, Jimmy Palmiotti, and somebody else. Lisner, right? David Linzer?
Well, Lisner, he didn't create a character. He did a cover. Like, one thing about Coffin Comics is that he does like 7, 8, 9, 10 different covers because his people buy his specific backers buy those covers.
But no, I didn't get it. It looked good though, but I
couldn't. I was going to get it. I'm about to press the button. And Jimmy Palmiotti posted something that I'm not. I go, you know what? I'm not going to back you, Jimmy. Sorry.
I also have the conspiracy theory that Jimmy Palmiotti doesn't write anything. He just.
I love this conspiracy.
What's his name? Like he's the famous guy, so like he'll hire somebody else to do all the work, and then he just throws his name on it.
He's a really nice guy too, but he's so passive aggressive with his tweets about Trump and stuff, and they're like, it's like feminine. It's all feelings. Well, doesn't you feel bad? He said something so mean about Canada, and I'm like, okay. If you worry about such things,
I worry about the gaming world, not about stuff like that. I'd rather just.
The gaming world's got its own issues, boy.
Not with John. We do good.
I work for a gaming company.
What company?
The Mythic America.
Okay.
I do their comics. I draw their comic stories. If you go on the website, I have 2. Well, they call it graphic novels. 2 8-page stories, and I'm working on one now. My friend, my writer that I worked for forever, he is one of the 3 main guys running the place now.
Cool.
Not Nelson. Nelson, I don't know Nelson, but Nelson is the creator.
Mm-hmm.
I had a gaming
company. They're up for some award that's supposed to be the Oscars of gaming world.
I had some gaming thing I wanted to tell you about, Roy, and now it's going to drive me nuts. That's why I'm looking around the room.
Something we want to play. We got to get together and play soon. We got V&V scheduled, but I kind of want to do a pirate game. I want to do a Viking game.
Yeah, I'll read Merchants and Marauders again. That's my favorite pirate game.
Cool. Now, there's an expansion for Merchants and Marauders? Or
I got like the big box, so everything is all in one. You can make it as complicated as you want or as simple as you want.
I feel like you always have the big box and everything. Jeez.
Yeah, and for a pound when it comes to comics.
I'm picking up a used copy for $20. So a friend of mine.
My younger son is a huge gamer.
Yeah, Yeah, well, I love the board games. I love the role playing games. I love the D&D. It's all good.
Roy's a fun role play. You never know what he's going to do. And when his character failed, they were like XCOM jumping into Chinese space. So I said, you got to make 3 agility saves to make it to the ground. You rolled a critical fumble.
John's a brutal dungeon master.
I was just going to ask you because I've heard him talk about it. Like I'm his main mod, so I'm in a lot of more than enough of his things. I go, he must be a brutal mod. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, when he runs some games, I was like, you know, come on, I'm a superhero, and I just smashed into the earth because I didn't pull the parachute cord or something. No good. I was even trained on it, John.
He had a force field, and he didn't turn his force field.
Yeah, I didn't think I needed a force field just to jump out of a plane, you know. So silly me.
And but
it's all fun though. It's a good story. The stories are good, John. I mean, you get the inspiration for the stories, and then you kind of turn them into the comics and stuff. I mean, that's an awesome thing, and you almost get to play test your story a little bit, right? You put us through the torture and said, "Oh my God, that was horrible. I'm not gonna put that in the book."
In issue 2 of Heroic Tales, they're fighting the Subterranean, and that was 2 adventures ago.
Yeah.
Voice characters, they fought the Subterranean. Don't bring up the adventure on the island because I want to use that bad guy.
Oh no, I'm not going to bring it up. I would like to say, I don't know if people play Vigilantes or Dungeons and Dragons, but I think John's kill rate is about 50%. I think we've had like, you know, there's 4 players in the game, and two of the players have already lost their characters. So
that's
we all have fun.
That's a paranoia. That's a paranoia level attrition rate.
Yes, that is a paranoia. Yeah. Gotta pull out the clones. When my next superhero is just a different color, super suit. Right?
Yeah, really.
Yeah.
So.
I'm really sorry. I got to go, John. The dog wants something, so she's had surgery. She's had surgery, so she got a cone on. I got to take her out. Hey guys, lovely talking to you. Live long and prosper. God bless. Great to talk to you guys. See you later.
See you later.
John, I'm gonna head out too. I have dog stuff to do also. It's almost 11, and they have to do. But thanks for having me on, and I appreciate it. And this is a cool learning experience.
Anything you want to say before you leave, Roy?
I mean, you know, I know you have a larger audience than I do. I only have 250. I'm Dark Alchemy on YouTube. And if you want to subscribe, I would appreciate it. You don't have to watch, but maybe click the button. I'm trying to get to 1,000. I have like 240 or something like that, 230. Wow. And we'll be at Tabletop Gaming Convention on Long Island, selling some miniatures like the 3D prints. And I'll be running Call of Cthulhu there, 2 adventures.
Oh, cool.
It should be a good time. So if you're around, stop by. And it's a great convention. I mean, they have a whole board game section, unpublished board games, role-playing games, a good vendors hall. They have a lot going on there, so it's pretty cool.
Cool. When is that?
Actually, it's next weekend, 6th and 7th at the Cradle of Aviation Museum, and that's Long Island Tabletop. You can find them LI Tabletop on.
That's where I met Heather Antos.
Who's that?
She's an editor for. She used to be an editor for Marvel. Now she's an editor for IDW. She does the Star Trek comics.
Oh, okay. Did she have a table set up or something? Or
yeah, she had a table set up. Yeah.
The editor she's the editor that sells comics she edited. It's a little confusing.
Yeah.
See, I just want to meet the people out there, but there's a lot of good stuff going on there, and we got our Gen Con tickets, John.
I'll give you a stack of.
How's that? Going to Gen Con?
Yeah, we went last year and like 2 years ago, so it's a great.
Gen Con's Mythic America said Gen Con. I think my stuff was at. I think they put it in a book by then. A giveaway. They should have a table at Gen Con. Although he was sick last year, and Eric couldn't go to Gen Con.
Yeah.
So I have no idea about any of this. You know, I have fans of my comic, and I don't even know it. Like a whole other gaming thing.
Yeah.
What if I gave you like a couple of my comics and the cards so you could show people? Look, it's based on V&V.
Yeah, we had a table. We can find a little section and put your comic out with a couple of cards there. We can try to sell a few.
Cool.
You know, get a scanning thing on the card, and they can scan and go directly to the. Oh, you had it right. I forgot you had that already.
Can you scan that, John? Does it have a QR code?
Yeah, get a QR code.
These are my character cards, and on the back is literal V&V role playing rules. So I think
I don't think a ton of people there will know about V&V.
I know it hasn't been published since 1983, but yes, I do have details.
If you want to, I'll put the Heroic Tales out and I'll put a comic book on the side. We can see maybe sell a few comics and it'll pay for next week's salads.
Yeah, that's a proper Long Island accent.
How you doing? Yeah. Nice.
That's
Thank
why I
you.
like these streams. It's like from home.
Feels like you're home. So.
I'm not in Long Island. I was in Westchester County, but
upstate.
same
Yeah.
difference.
Yeah, I'm at East Cupcake, all the way in Suffolk, next to John.
Oh, I know. I've been in Suffolk. I was at Belmont a couple years ago.
Oh, you're getting close. Belmont.
Well, where the Islanders play. That's what we saw Springsteen there. Me and my
that's might as well be.
But I've been to Suffolk.
Yeah. So, John, Marcus, where are you now?
I'm in Charlotte, North Carolina.
Oh, so you're not coming over for a game night with John anytime soon?
No, I would probably find a way to do it at least once if I was still in Westchester. Take a couple of trains down there.
Yeah.
Out there or drive. You know, you always drive. Get on the LIE. That's a nightmare.
Oh yeah, it still is. But thank you for the time, John. I appreciate it. It was cool to have a learning.
It's an open invite every Friday, 8:30, except next week I'm launching my comic, so we'll be doing it at 7:00, and then
I'll give that a watch. I'll back you. I'm a fan.
Thank you.
All right, later, guys.
See you. Nick, anything you want to say before we sign off?
Yes. I just wanted to comment on the Joker thing because I haven't had a chance to, but
I'm
it's okay.
sorry.
No, it's okay. It's okay. I do want to bring up an underrated Joker, in my opinion. If we're including voice actors, I thought Troy Baker from Arkham Origins, if you ever seen the gameplay of that,
okay,
even though he wasn't brought up well because they were setting up the Black Mask, but when you start watching him as the Joker and take the story as it is, he did a pretty good job playing the Joker. He like a comic accurate Joker. In fact, he was very murderous, insidious. But if we're talking about Silver Age, yeah, I would go with Romero or the classic Joker, the Joker you would think of. It would have to be either Romero or Nicholson. But other than that, yeah, I got a lot of work to do, and I just can't. Thank you for having me on. I hope we can do more of these. And just thank you for having me.
All right. See, Marcus, anything you want to say?
Yes, tomorrow's a big episode of the studio at 7 p.m. on Don Draw's YouTube channel. We are having guest Dan Panosian.
Oh, Dan's going to be on tomorrow?
Dan's going to be on tomorrow. There's a rumor that Dale Keown might stop by. He's Dan's friend, but Dan is definitely going to be on. I wasn't on last week, so more importantly, I make my return. And we're going to draw profit. And, we're going to draw profit. I don't know. Profit. But the Dan his first work was profit, so that's why we're drawing it. And all the Image guys love that. And I am going to figure something out.
Dan's first work was on Villains and Vigilantes.
Right, but the one they remember, the Image boys remember is profit.
Yeah.
You could bring up there and you could ask about Villains and Vigilantes in the chat.
I'm not in the group anymore, Don.
But you could allow Don to sing. Didn't he apologize to you?
He apologized, but he didn't add me back to the group.
I could add you back.
Yeah. All right. Well, my news is
I get out of that one. Jeez Louise. I'm sorry that happened, John.
Yeah, me too. I know Don. I know
what you meant. You didn't mean it against Don specifically.
Right. But Sunday I'm doing Sunday comics, and geez, for the life of me, I can't remember what comic I selected. But it's 10:00. We'll find out.
I missed it. I was with my dad. That's a tough one. Sunday comics is tough. That's when he's talking to me the most and all. So I'm sorry about that.
That's fine. And then the next big news is I'm launching Heroic Tales 2 next Friday on Bancroft, 9 p.m. And let's all raid Michael Bancroft. So
all right. Let me get back to YouTube.
What's the name of this channel? Bancroft TV?
Michael Bancroft, I think. It's just that.
So let's read Michael Bancroft, and if you can and you could afford it, it looks good. Back Elysium Fields. I'm psyched. I'm literally excited for this comic. It looks good. So let's go over to Bancroft and raid. All right.
Okay, see you guys. Good night, John. Thanks again. I'll talk to you later.
See ya.